Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and start and get everything else working along the way because we have some work to do. We appreciate everyone's early arrival and arriving early, and we're still 12 minutes late getting going. Thanks to the wonderful world of technology. Appreciate the good work that was accomplished yesterday and look forward to several hours this morning where we hope to get a lot of things happening. I'm Randy Booth. I'm serving as chair of the Standards and Assessment Committee, and we have all members of the board that are on the committee here live in the USBE offices. We have member Jenny Earl, member Sarah Reel, vice chair Emily Green, myself, Randy Booth, member Natalie Klein, and we're grateful to have up here at the front desk the woman who is keeping us all together, Dr. Patty Norman. Thank you very much for your preparation and for helping us stay on track today. We're going to begin with recognition of achievements in this area of USBE. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Dr. Patty Norman.
Hey, thank you. I wanted to start out by saying this recognition is kind of special because we were trying to figure out, should this recognition come to Standards and Assessment or should it go to the Finance Committee? And we were juggling it, and Deputy Jones goes, well, let's send it to Finance, but we decided we're going to just do it right here in Standards. So it really is something that's across the agency. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the favorite part, which is the Utah State Board of Education is committed to the vision of, upon completion, all Utah students are prepared to succeed and lead by having the knowledge and skills to learn, engage civically, and lead meaningful lives. To accomplish these goals, staff of the board are engaged in supporting everyday work to achieve this goal and assisting the board to create equitable conditions for student success, advocating for necessary resources, developing policy, and providing effective oversight and support. So this month, we're going to highlight the CPR training and funding. And if we have Jody online, Jody Parker, she can do that amazing wave that we have, and there she is with that. And so I'm going to tell you about what this is. In 2014, Governor Herbert made a resolution to have all high school students receive hands-on high-quality CPR training. And so to support this resolution, he allocated funds to the USBE to help schools pay for certified trainers. Unfortunately, the training program was not well known and funds went largely unused. Jody Parker, health education specialist, joined the USBE in 2016 and began working on ways to support schools in utilizing the funds. Efforts included making partnerships with local EMT services, nurses, and other certified CPR training personnel to go to high school health classrooms to train students, as well as purchasing CPR mannequins for the training. Both were identified as barriers by the schools. By the 2019-20 school year, nearly all LEAs were utilizing the funds. For the first time, all the new funds received were going to schools to reimburse the cost of the training. Career and technical education health science courses also benefited from these funds. Then COVID closed the schools, and schools were unable to train students in person. As a result, we lost the allocation for new funds and only had the carry forward left for the 2021-22 school year. In 2022, SB 196 codified CPR training 53G-10-408 for high school health classes and restored the funds for training students. In addition, SB 196 gave one-time funding for updated mannequins to schools. Multiple staff, including the finance department, worked together to build a new application in Utah Grants Management that would both simplify the process for LEAs and ensure funds are being used properly. As a result, 50 LEAs are using funds to train over 46,000 high school students in hands-on high-quality CPR and AED. In addition, 41 LEAs are receiving mannequins and other equipment to support this training. Not only have we used all the new CPR funds, but we've also spent down most of the residual carry forward from the first years. And for the first time since 2014, we will have carry forward less than $100,000. More importantly, the funds are being used in a meaningful way that truly saves lives. We are building a robust population of lifesavers in the state of Utah. We receive reports every year of students using this training to save lives of family members and people in the community. We talk about something that really does save the life of students with support from the legislature, with support from everyone, staff across the board at USBE, and of course, the full support of the board and being allocate these funds and advocate for SB 196. This was able to happen.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Jody.
So grateful. Do we have additional recognitions today?
That's it for today.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Want to chime in real quick.
Please.
My seventh grader actually just did the CPR training last week. And he says, my person just made it because he couldn't get it down. So we had a little talk about how you don't give up. We'll just keep teaching you. You've got this. But it was very exciting for him. So
That's great. Thank you. All right. Andrea, as far as I can see, we haven't received any requests for public comment. Is that still correct?
Yes, that's correct. We don't have any public comment for today.
All right, great. Well, we started in our session, I can't remember, I guess it was our last committee meeting on college and career awareness standards. And we got through several of them. And so I think we're ready to pick up where we left off. Is that correct? That's the plan. Bring up college and career awareness.
Yep. According to my notes, I think got through, we were on standard 3, partway through standard 3.
Someone help board member.
All right, so
Like I'm on the Google.
was this member Earl or member?
You're right here.
Bullet 5.
Bullet 5. Okay, great. Member Klein.
So yes, I move. I'm motion. Forgot the language here. So I move to amend Strand 1, Standard 3, Bullet 5 to read: investigate current Utah career clusters offered through Career and Technical Education, CTE. That's a recommended change. Right.
Do we have to, I just have a clarifying question. If it's in the green, it's already been changed. Is that accurate?
So let me, Chair, may I?
Please.
So if we reorient to this template, and we apologize for the multiple templates across the way, but I think after this meeting, we're going to have some more common templates. So if we look across the very first at the top, it says first draft presented to the public. So that's the first column. The second one is public comment feedback, regardless of whose feedback it is. It's all within that public comment feedback row. The third one is it went to the writing committee, and they might have made a change based on that feedback or may not have. So the green is what the writing committee would have changed it. So that's their exact
So if it's
language.
in there, we don't have to make a change unless we wanted to alter what they made the change on.
Correct. And so then the rationale is next. And so any additional motions. So right now, what's in there is actually what's on that first draft. And so you haven't, and correct me if I'm wrong, you haven't adopted what the writing committee decided either. So right now, everything like on number 1, everything is in the first draft form. And so then you can come forward and you can say, yes, we want to adopt what's in green, or you can say we would like to change what's in green to state something different.
Okay, so now, I'm sorry.
The
Now,
ones that
Natalie,
we've
will you
already
tell us?
worked on,
Yes.
Yes.
one up until where Natalie was going to begin,
Yes.
we need to go back and adopt what, am I misunderstanding?
Yeah, so those have been approved. because they had motions that were approved with them. So
Okay,
now we are right where Dr. Thronson is, which is on number 3. And so right here, it is the strand 1. And so it would be in the first column, column 1, which was from the original. And then you can adopt what the writing committee in green, or you can adopt so Board Member Klein, is your amendment to column 1 or is it to column 5?
So it's strand 1, standard 3, bullet
Member
5.
Klein's amendment is in column 3. It's in, you look at the top, it looks like we're missing a column 2, but
Okay.
it's,
So I've amended my
Okay.
my previous suggestion. Yeah, so my new motion is for it to read, investigate current Utah career clusters offered through Career and Technical Education, CTE.
hey, we have a motion
All the sub bullets under that.
for first standard 3, bullet 5 to be changed to state investigate current Utah career clusters offered through career and technical education.
Is over here.
Writing committee
This is hers right here.
Mine's old.
explore the
Two.
pathways using
Okay, so we're just
we
looking.
can share.
I don't know if you want to put CTE in parentheses after it's written out, but
So if I were to help make it more clear, I'm looking at column 5. So your columns go 1, 3, 5, 6, 8. It looks like we have some missing columns up there, or maybe that's just where it. Oh, that's the ruler. Thank you. It's column 3. It's a long morning already. Okay. Column 3, right here. I'm going to go ahead and make that change as if it were a decision. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to delete that. And so it's changing this that Board Member Klein just put in exchange for what I just crossed out, but then leaving the bullets underneath.
right.
Oh, here.
Let me scroll down on the bullets so we can see all the bullets.
Swear I printed this.
I was printed yesterday.
So it wasn't yesterday.
Yeah.
Fine.
I'm good with that. I'm just saying, from what I can tell. So. On that,
Yeah, let's vote.
Okay. No more discussion? All right, so do I need to restate? We're changing, Board Member Klein moves to amend strand 1, standard 3, bullet 5 to state investigate current Utah career clusters offered through Career and Technical Education, CTE. Is that correct? Yes, okay, Patty.
I apologize. So I investigate current Utah career clusters. Are you actually modifying this bullet right here? If you'll scroll,
Bullet.
yeah, right there. Is that what you're modifying? And so that everything underneath it? Is that? So are you modifying this
Is
top
that the
part?
5th bullet?
I think it says here that the third bullet becomes,
5.
Oh, they did say something about like a bullet point
Oh,
number
see right there on the
changing.
right now.
Right
The
there, committee recommends updating bullet
3
3 previously to.
5.
So
bullet
yes,
2 and 3.
that's where I said it was.
So it'd be
from
right
the
here.
writing committee's suggestion. Yeah.
So you would
Okay, so
be,
it's 3, so we're,
I guess we could just
I
say,
just changed the bullet number.
not need all the sub bullets then?
I don't think it hurts to leave the sub bullets. I was just amending the one bullet point, not the sub bullet points.
so you just
so
want,
it's a set,
It's
okay, I'm sorry, I
basically-
thought it
It's
was,
bullet 3. Yeah.
So it's basically adding on to that
Right, they
CTE.
changed bullet 5 to bullet
Yeah.
3.
So it looks like we're just updating that to have it added CTE on the end. Investigate current Utah career clusters
And then I put
offered through career and technical
Yep.
education. Perfect.
Are we all clear or clear as mud?
Bullet, it's stated correctly on the 5th column.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Well, how should we do that down here today? Just
Probably do a raise of hands unless there's,
all in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. That 5 of us? Okay, great. It passes unanimously. Next.
I move to amend strand 1, standard 5 to state, identify, I don't know if you have, I sent these in. So, so it says, identify 5 career opportunities not offered through high school career and technical education CTE programs or post-secondary training programs.
and I actually prefer, I'm just throwing this out there, I do prefer the writing committee's language, investigate people who have found career success through alternative pathways. I think that's what it. So I think that just gives it.
I think the pathways infers something different, something specific, where my goal is to help them see the opportunities that lie outside the pathways that the schools can offer. So that because the schools are teaching them all of these pathways, like these are your options, but then this is to help them find things that exist with outside that, so that it's broadening their opportunities, expanding their vision beyond just what the schools can offer.
Yes.
I have a question for, I guess, probably Ashley. So this is, at Sully Community College, we have pathways, and I always say we shouldn't call them pathways because there's 10,000 different kinds of pathways that we talk about in education in Utah. And so are there defined, do they just say pathways as a like broad term, or are there defined pathways?
So excuse me, pardon my voice, I'm sick. So in CTE, we do have defined pathways, which were listed under the amendment that we just approved, the ag, computer science and things like that. I think other areas, such as post-secondary and things, use pathways, and they're not necessarily the same pathway that we're talking about at the high school level. But yes, as far as in CTE at the high school level and post-secondary, there are specific pathways.
Thank you. I have a follow-up on that. So, in making these pathways or areas of study, as I like to call them, is it like what? I guess this is maybe a question: is what do we feel like doesn't to everyone? Is what do we feel like isn't included in those pathways? I feel like they're broad enough that they include. I mean, even if a new technology comes up and there's a new study of like 3D printing of bow ties or whatever, that we could still find a pathway that fits into, right? Like that's the purpose, the way that they were built was so that they're broad enough with categories, and as new technologies or new areas of employment, arise, you can add pathways, these clusters or pathways, but I'm wondering what else is outside of that. Like any career I can think of fits into the pathways. Other than the ones that don't exist yet.
Exactly. There may
Career
be
hazard
things that
is
don't even exist. And there may be things out there that don't fall under here, like fine arts or there's all kinds of things.
We have arts, audiovisual, technology, communication. Oh, Talia wants to speak.
Leah has her hand raised.
Please go ahead, Talia.
Thank you. Talia Longhurst, Director of Career and Technical Education. The pathways are designed to be broad. The clusters are designed to be broad. Not every school will be able to teach every course, every pathway that is a possibility for students. There are things we don't even know about that students could potentially want to do for careers down the road. The idea is that they're broad and that students can pursue whatever opportunities they want. And just because an art class, for example, may not be a CTE pathway, there are art classes available at every school, and students who are interested in art can pursue that. The goal of this course is to help them explore everything, whatever that looks like, whatever post-secondary training or education may or may not be required. The idea is that it's broad and open to them so that they can explore anything.
So when I hear pathway, I hear this is a charted course, like instead of the road less traveled, where they chart their own course. And so that's what there's lots of things out there that are developed or, entrepreneurial kind of things that people just create on their own that is different than charted pathways or courses that have been laid out by a system. And that's what I'm getting at. So we have all of those, and those are great, and they're broad and expansive, but we also want them to discover that there's something else out there. We don't want to put kids in a box so that they're limited as to the potential that is out there. So that, because otherwise we lose innovation and creation and new, charting new territory that nobody's ever thought of before.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. I'm just wondering if we need to add that language in there. I don't know. It might not matter at all.
One simple standard among all the others that focus on the pathways. So
the word
my amendments are just to add that other element, that this is not all inclusive, that we don't want to put you in a box, although the school and the system, what it can offer is somewhat of a box as far as the pre-charted courses. That makes sense.
Guys, just help me. I'm so sorry. I'm lost on this document, and I apologize. Normally I can kind of figure things out. I'm not sure why. We are addressing what? Look in the far right column. What item are we looking at? So I can have a comparison.
So on, so if we're on row 4, column 1, or I guess that's column 2, straight right there where Jennifer has that. Then what we have is Board Member Klein's amendment.
I can see that.
And then the next one is what the writing committee identified. And then their rationale.
I know what they recommended. Can you tell me from the actual document, the first document, what am I looking at?
So you would be looking at the first comparison would be comparing it to Strand 1 Standard 5 in that first column. And so
what am I looking at here?
You're gonna go for this column.
So it's this thing that we're
Yes.
looking
One above
at,
it.
modifying it.
So modifying the starter, but as I'm looking at it, it's not modifying the bullets after that, except for the 5th bullet.
So this open. And I'm not, which point border? Chair, I don't know that we captured a difference because what's in the green is the same as what we have in the amendment. So can we go back and have Board Member Klein read? I don't see a difference. Did you catch a difference?
So the difference is at the end, where Board Member Klein added and through high school CTE courses.
Okay.
Yes. So
I took out technical colleges, community colleges, universities, industries. I'm looking at the right one. Strand, because I like I said a week ago, I submitted some adjustments to my amendment. So that needs to be changed to read, identify 5 career opportunities not offered through high school career and technical education programs or post-secondary training programs. I just wanted to be clarified because I could tell from my previous amendment, what I was going for was not exactly accurate. It was close, but not quite.
Just a little slower.
Identify 5 opportunities not offered through high school career and technical education or CTE programs or post-secondary programs.
So we're under strand 1.
I have them now.
Standard 5. Okay, this is what I need.
I'm forwarding you an email.
It has them all.
Secondary. I'll copy and paste. She's like,
Okay, does that look like it's right now?
Yeah, yes.
We all understand what we're talking about? Anything that we would like to, any discussion, any questions?
In the Easter Spirit.
That's it. Weird sometimes.
Yeah.
To just say like, this is how many? How do you need?
Yes, if you want, I can do, see, well, we've got these 2, both of these. Okay, so I have 2 more that fall under that strand, if you want those right now, or do you want to vote on just
no,
this?
I want to make sure I'm understanding this. We're changing the whole language that said define and identify post-secondary education and training opportunities through Utah technical colleges, community colleges, universities, and industries, in addition to high school offerings through career and technical education courses. We're changing that to this language?
Yes. Yes,
And we're not altering everything
the
underneath?
reason is because
Everything underneath.
the colleges and communities and community colleges and universities and industries, they are all already aligned on these pathways. And so to just say something, because previously I said those beyond CTE that post-secondary offers, and then I realized post-secondary is already aligned with our CTEs, like the whole industry is aligned. And so I'm trying to get them to think outside of that system pathway, because the system is not just what CTE, what's offered in high school, but it's the same course that is charted all the way from through starting in the high schools through college and into the workforce. That's the pathway I'm trying to get them to think outside of.
I wonder if in the summary, what if, I like what you're saying, because I mean, there are things that students don't even know exist. Like we have destructive explosive training or something. It's like, that's like a wild thing that you obviously don't talk about in high school. But I wonder if we add, like, because when we take out those definitions in the summary, it doesn't follow along with what's below it. So I wonder if we just add a note about and including.
That's why I have
Alternative
2.
careers.
I have 2 more bullets under that. The 5th main bullet, and then a sub bullet under that 5th one that I have that are my next 2 amendments.
If I'm
it
understanding this
follows.
right, the reason why we have standard 5 is because we're drawing attention to the post-secondary education and training opportunities and through the universities. So we're not adding to that, we're actually changing that. So we're not drawing attention to the opportunities through universities. Because you're right, the career paths, that's why I had to look back at everything. You've got the Utah career paths. You have the identify the courses outlined in the career paths, CTE, but then this is identifying post-secondary education. So
No, this is outside of that.
am I missing?
The career path, the CTE, the first one that we did is all about investigating all of those pathways that are
Right,
available.
Right.
So this one then investigates what's outside of that.
Can I ask a question of Leah or Ashley or?
Would it be helpful to see my other 2
No.
bullet points that fall under that?
They're on the screen.
Okay. Put 'em
To
up.
Leah or Ashley, I have a question for you.
Please go ahead.
Is the purpose of strand 5 in this college and
This is just
career
one
course to talk about higher education, including
The standard.
internships and job shadowing and apprenticeships? Is that the purpose? Like, is that what, as an educator, if I get to standard 5 right, where we are, it is the purpose of this to talk about opportunities after you graduate high school, whatever that may be.
I'll take that answer, and I apologize. I didn't introduce myself the first time. I'm Ashley Higgs, and I'm a CTE specialist that oversees college and career awareness. Before you get to Strand 5 as an educator, you would more than likely do Standard 1 of the strand, which is having students identify where their interests are and doing an aptitude, figuring out where their interests lie. Because again, this course is for 7th and 8th graders. And so you gotta have a student that totally knows what they want to be and they know where they need to go. And you have a kid that hasn't even thought about it yet. And so by using those aptitudes, then a teacher can work on finding them their resources, whether it's going to post-secondary, whether it's doing industry, whether it's going outside, and being able for students to identify what is available to them that will align to what they're interested in, and being able to figure out, hey, is this a career? Is it an interest? What is that? And so I think it builds upon whatever that outcome is for that student and their aptitudes that they have.
Okay, can I ask you a semi-direct question? Is changing the summary of this going to affect the rest of that?
When you say changing the summary, are you
So
talking
if
about?
we exclude what we had and what the writing committee recommended, does that affect what follows?
I don't think it affects. I think that if you have a specific number of occupations that you're making a student look at through whether, and they already know that they want to do something, I think that's a disservice to the student that already knows what they want to do. But I don't think it hurts or ruins the strand or standard. It just has them looking through a different lens.
Okay. So is there what the number 5 was that
Okay,
just
so I
because-
think we have to leave the language that's there, but I think we can add to it because I see where board member Klein's going, but we don't want to change. If I'm looking at this right, standard 5. Correct. If we're looking at that, we can add to it, but I don't think we need to alter the language that's there because it changes everything underneath to me. So what was your amendment again? What was your suggested amendment?
Oh, it should be right there in the purple.
In the purple, identify 5 opportunities to offer through.
5, I'm not, if I do 3 or, something.
I wouldn't even put a number there, but
other? I mean, we could add that language to the end of that summary.
I really resonate with Natalie's addition, because one of the major issues we're helping these students understand is that jobs are changing, and what you may end up being when you grow up doesn't exist right now in so many cases. So opening up their minds to the fact that there are all of these, as what the committee has already said, but there's also these, and who knows what else. So explore. You have the luxury at age 7th and 8th grade to dream and see what's out there. Because
so my recommendation was strike 5, just leave it open and just add it to that strand at the end. So it would.
By opportunities.
Yep, it was just identifying opportunities that maybe don't fall under that traditional, not traditional, but yeah, I guess it would be traditional path.
It would just be adding a bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that
Keep the main strand and then add that as a bullet?
No,
Yeah.
or just in it, we could just add it to that summary. Find and identify post-secondary education training opportunities through Utah Technical College, community college, universities, industries, and opportunities not offered through high school, through career and technical, whatever you had before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think that.
Oh, you want it in the head of that?
Yeah. So you just add it as in
Because-
addition to.
So apprenticeship and some of those other things would fall under that. So I think
We're adding it to the main strand, standard 5, all that
Yes.
language at the
Sure.
end.
Sure,
yes, please.
I just want to make sure, is this a friendly amendment, and is a friendly amendment from board member Earl, or is this a group decision just to suspend Robert's rules for a minute as you wordsmith this and then going
It's a
back.
friendly amendment.
Okay, friendly amendment. Okay. Well, I just got to make sure we type it up correctly.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay. Do you want to vote on that?
Okay, great. We have a friendly amendment that I just don't even, so what we just said,
It's right here.
but I've got to be more clear, I know, for our audience. So we're adding the language presented by Board Member Klein. Just identify 5 opportunities offered through the high school through career and technical education, CTE, or post-secondary training programs to what already existed from the writing committee. And to make it flow and technical changes, I mean, that's all somebody's gonna have to,
Do you want to just read it?
is it all there now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Define and identify post-secondary education and training opportunities through Utah technical colleges, community colleges, universities, and industries, in addition to high school offerings through career and technical education, CTE courses, and opportunities not offered through career and technical education, CTE, or post-secondary training programs.
Let's vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you. We're moving on.
Okay, so my next one is, I move to add to the 5th main bullet point under strand 1, standard 5, to read research and identify people who have found career success outside of state-sponsored college and career workforce training pathways, such as
This is the one.
career and technical education, CTE.
I like their language better than.
And I would add to this bullet.
This is
Because this
A
would
new bullet.
coordinate with
this
yours.
is a new bullet. Well, yeah, it's adding to the, 5th main bullet point.
Like, I feel like.
All right, so the
So-
5th main bullet point currently where?
Falls under that idea that we just amended in the standard 5 to not only look for people out or look for other opportunities outside of the pathways, but people that have found success in something that doesn't fall in those pathways.
Can I speak to that? Just at SUU, we have, they sponsor the Best Business Competition. And I was involved with that like 10 years ago. And what we do is we bring entrepreneurs from our communities and we're present your business idea in front of a panel of judges. And it's added so much to our community because we are reaching, and from that, they've actually developed another area you can go on that's where their office is, Main Street, and you can get training on entrepreneurship, or you can pitch your business plan and then they help. So what I'm seeing, this isn't, if we're thinking this goes against that, it can actually work together and partner with this concept, but they are people that are just entrepreneurs in spirit. And then they are, they get to put their idea out. And then if they'd like further help in developing those concepts, it's just been a lovely addition to our community through SUU from citizens creating their own businesses. So
Just tapping into that innovative.
I see
creative-
this is very beneficial.
So I just think the language I like the language that they put forward, meaning the writing committee, and I don't think you have to spell out state-sponsored college career. I just think it needs to be investigate people who have found career success through alternative. You don't have to use pathways. It could be alternative means or something like that. But I just think it's cleaner language. It leaves it broader. Right there's where I'm looking on my paper.
I guess I would agree with Member Earl, mostly because I mean, these are public schools, so adding outside of state sponsors feels a little bit odd to me, since we're all state, these are all state schools, public schools.
Right, but this is, again, these systems are being created to limit, or at least in the minds of our students, that these are the only pathways. And so you need to help them see outside of that so that they're not boxed in. So the state, or the systems that the state creates, cannot possibly accommodate all the possibilities
Right.
that are out there. And so they've created their certain pathways, these state sponsored pathways and programs. And this is, again, what I'm trying to help them see outside of that. Not that there's anything wrong with these, but just to say, like we did in the main standard, right? This is to help them see outside of that, so that they don't get limited in their minds.
I think it does that without saying outside of state sponsored.
And I think it does as well. And the reason why is because you're looking at the standard, you're teaching about technical colleges, community colleges, universities, undergrad, right? All these different things. And then we add this that says there's other means, right? We don't have to spell out. In my view, the teacher's going to be reading this, the teacher's going to be applying it. I think they're going to understand these ones are within, these ones are more creative or entrepreneurial or that kind of a thing.
And the state sponsor,
So-
well, whatever,
Go ahead.
I don't think that the alignment from the Governor's Office of Economic Development to the higher education programs of study, they change all the time. And these standards, I think we don't need to say that to imply or have that taught. I think that
What about this suggestion from the writing committee? Investigate people who have found career success through alternative
I
pathways.
just don't like the pathways language,
Well,
because
we
that infers something very
I
specific.
think you're right. So what would be a good word to put there?
I would just say
avenues,
That would work,
Routes.
or
outside of I would say outside of the pathways.
traditional, out
Just
through.
say, you could leave pathways, but just say outside of the pathways.
let's see, investigate.
Or through outside of traditional.
How about just that? Investigate people who have found career success outside of pathways. Not pathways.
Or
outside
that's
of-
why pathways,
why
that's why pathways isn't really a thing.
Well, pathways is something though. It's a charted course.
But it isn't like
created by
it
the
isn't like
system.
we have to, it's not a in code type, like there's only these types of programs, right?
Could be
It changes, it's like an orb, it's always moving and changing. And so because there's new
Pathways
jobs that
infer
come up.
something very specific. That's a term of the system. And I want them to see outside of that. Because our language is becoming so narrowed that we are being trained to think in certain pathways, or even our thinking is being steered into certain pathways. And that will limit innovation and entrepreneurial ideas. So I don't want to narrow the language in such a way that our kids can only, when they hear pathways, they're going to think of all of these that have just been listed for them.
Traditional pathways? Outside of traditional pathways?
No, I wouldn't even
What
call
was
these
the other,
traditional
what was the
pathways.
other word we had just a minute ago?
Avenues.
Avenues.
That's what, they don't like state sponsored, but state sponsored is what I'm getting at. That's
I know,
why
but
that's
that
important.
changes, and this is,
Something, I don't know.
you know what I mean? So
It does,
you
but,
could end up liking some of the pathways.
well,
later.
but they're still state sponsored pathways,
But-
even if it's something you like.
Yeah,
This is something we want to help them try to see past just the pathways that have been put in front of them
Talia,
to see something
do you-
new.
do you or Ashley have maybe a suggestion on how to articulate that, if you can understand? I'm sure you're getting the gist of what the concern is here.
Would you scroll up to what the writing committee's original recommendation was?
It's right there.
there it is.
Perfect.
Alternative pathways.
What about if you said, investigate people who have found career success through, non-traditional education courses or education route.
The only thing that gets where I'm trying to get to is the state sponsored.
Right, and I'm not there, so that's what I'm saying, I'm trying to find something, because I can't go there, because to me, that doesn't really say what, it doesn't really do it. I think we need it to do, so I'm looking for something that can reach where you're going
How
without getting
about
there.
charted outside of pre-charted pathways?
Okay, so I've got,
How about existing pathways?
Or existing,
okay,
outside of existing pathways?
are we saying so we've got non-traditional, pre-charted.
I don't like
pathways.
non-traditional because that's super subjective, depends on who you
I
ask
like
what
this
that
though,
means.
career success outside of existing pathways. Okay, because that suggests that.
That just suggests there's new
Yeah,
things
well,
out
that's
there.
good.
Okay,
Dream,
I can do
dream
that.
big.
All right, let's vote.
Good. All right. Any other discussion? So we are suggesting, or the motion is, gosh,
There we go.
Right
there,
It's right here, it's right here.
that, okay. Investigate people who have found career success outside of existing pathways. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. No further, seeing no further discussion, whatever it is, let's vote. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Not, what, is that what I'm supposed to say? Everyone in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, aye, so that's 5 of us. There you go.
Okay,
Okay, and then the next motion is to add a 5th main bullet point, which, oh wait, that was the one we just did.
Yep.
Okay, so it would be to add a 1st sub bullet point under the 5th main bullet point that we just created, to say interview 2 people who have found success and personal fulfillment in careers outside of, we could change it to existing pathways. Identify and explain factors that contributed to their success and fulfillment. And this is, this is an interview, so they can actually tell how.
so tell me, is this under the performance objectives? Where is
This is under the 5th main bullet point that we just amended to say existing pathways. This would be a sub bullet point.
Okay, so it says what?
That. So, let's see.
Just say investigate people in the main bullet point.
So in black is what we just voted on, and then the red is the sub bullet point. Identify and explain. Oh, wait.
You have 2.
So the first one, we said research and identify people. That was what we just passed. And this is interview 2 people.
How do you say?
No, I wonder if we can just,
So, Board Member Klein, I'm looking at the structure of the content, not the words, but the structure of the content. We have the standard, the heading of the standard, then we have identify post-secondary education, and then we have those listed. Identify industry education opportunities, and we have those listed. Then we have, I believe this bullet point will be one of those, right? So it's identifying those things or investigating. I'm just trying to make sure it fits. We have performance objectives. Students will participate in at least one project. I don't know if, I'm just trying to make sure it fits so it flows the same as the other items.
I'm just wondering if I can add this sub bullet point to the main bullet point we just amended, that we all voted on.
Okay.
And just instead of research and identify people, say identify and interview people who have found success outside of existing pathways.
Talia, or
That's really what my sub
Ashley?
bullet
Or is
point
this
does.
original?
Does that fit the, I'm just trying to make sure it fits the flow. Does that make sense? Are we doing that with all the other items too? We're asking people to go out and interview someone that's graduated from college. Does that make sense? Or is this just an introduction about these items?
These are just introductions. The project-based learning and the simulations are where they actually get to do hands-on career activities that have different workplace skills that they get to develop and things like that. As I look at this as a teacher, if I read this, I think it would be very hard if I was a teacher in Tabiona trying to find two individuals to interview that went a non-traditional route.
That was also my thought, Ashley, is that I'm putting myself into the classroom as a student. How do I even say that someone has done a non-traditional route, right? Or has, like, how do you
Go find someone.
I know, but like how though? Like how do you define that? Because I could say that but if they went to college, are they not in a traditional route? If they had an apprenticeship, were they not in a traditional route? If they,
Did they follow one of the charted courses?
right, but I'm
Sorry, yeah,
and all of these
CTE
pathways,
courses
so-
are pretty new.
okay, let's say I found someone that does digital marketing, engineering and technology. I mean, I'm trying to think of any career out there that I couldn't say applies to one of these pathways.
So.
Like someone that just started a cannabis farm, agriculture. I mean, that's alternative, right? That's like mega alternative.
Right.
So I just think it would be hard to apply to say, find someone that has an alternative pathway without saying, but I could say that they fit into these still.
But they maybe didn't go that route. They maybe landed where they are
So
by
they-
not following the
Okay.
pre-charted course to get there.
So
Like,
under-
how many of us are in a position that we didn't follow a charted course to
Yeah.
get to?
My
right?
job didn't
Our
exist when I was
job,
in college, but
most of our,
I still went to college. I
Yes.
still took a pathway, right? I'm trying to see how
but
a
your
teacher-
career didn't follow.
So what about
a
this?
pathway.
Under the performance objectives, the first one says students will participate in at least one project-based learning opportunity. It has to do with the career clusters. The second one has to do with the career clusters. The third one is students will participate in at least 2 work-based learning opportunities. I think we could put something there. Wondering if something could be added there about entrepreneurial, or do you know what I mean? That we can put it into that, because you're
I
talking.
think I would love to add it to what we just did outside of existing pathways, because most people, at least in the, besides the younger generation, found their place in the workforce or a career through different, the paths that we actually take versus the charted pathways are so varied. Like I could ask anybody in this room if they took a charted pathway to get to where they are now.
So I
Like
know
one
how
that
you
was laid
assess
out
that- how do
for
you
them that they
assess-
just followed.
How do you assess
most
that
of
student
us-
found someone like that?
They just have to, they have to identify them, which means they're going to have to get out there and talk to people
Yeah.
and just say, and it was not hard, because I could ask anybody in this room, tell me, Jennifer, how you got to where you are, right? It was probably a very meandering path, right? That landed
So-
you where you
so
are. It wasn't a charted course. Like in high school, they said, Jennifer's going to be the deputy superintendent of teaching and learning at the USBE, and these are all the steps that she has to take to get there.
So
Like,
board member
that's just
Klein,
not how
I
it
think
usually
I-
works.
I think what I'm hearing you say, is that these career pathways you're seeing as just a charted, narrow tunnel to something that people can't get out of. I don't actually view it that way. I'm viewing it as what you're saying. They can get, qualifications here, but that doesn't mean,
That's where they'll end up.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying there's nothing wrong with the pathways, but we have to help them see that is not the end in and of itself. Like, just because you get on this pathway doesn't mean this is where you will end up, or that you should, or that your options will narrow, because the system is kind of funneling people into a very narrow path. Whereas we want kids to realize this is a place to learn and explore, and we don't want kids to get siloed.
okay, I'm ready to vote on this.
So
Well,
Because I
may
don't
I
think it
insert
does
a
chart.
question?
So,
Are we not getting into, I totally understand and I agree that we don't want them to get stuck in a box, but aren't we getting into more curriculum or how the teacher is going to teach a standard in the classroom by interviewing or finding these people and doing this. I think that there will be those at the district level, or in the class, the teacher in the classroom is going to determine how they teach the standard. But right now, we're kind of making the standard into a curricular decision.
Right.
Here's an activity, here's a thing to do in order to
The interview.
get out of the
example-
box.
The example I have is my mom teaches this class, and when she meets my friends or people that I know, she's like, they have cool random jobs, right? And she invites them into her classroom to talk about their jobs, and they talk about their paths, which are always winding and interesting. So, you know, is she going to say now the students have to go out, and she's not bringing in these interesting people into her classroom anymore, right? Because it's changing. It's saying you have to go interview instead of saying
I think
teach
both are
people
good.
about,
I
well,
think-
right, but this says to interview two people, which is really specific. And if we want to get to that point, that I like what you're saying about exploring and finding people that do different things.
But I think that,
Amending it this
isn't
way a
that
little
a teacher's decision based on where we live in San Juan or where we live in Spanish Fork or whatever,
Okay,
in
so,
terms of what's available?
so the writing committee has used words like identify or investigate or explain. And so interview is kind of just in another one of those words. We could change it to investigate if interview is too specific.
I like that.
But is there a problem with the word interview? Is that somehow too explicit compared to the words that are already being used in
It's
the
just more of
standards?
it's more specific to an assignment. Like your assignment this week is to go interview two
Because,
people.
I mean, they say
Feedback
define,
on-
identify, explain. Those are pretty specific too, as far as telling a teacher what the student has to do. It's,
Can we
But-
get feedback? Would
Of course, either Ashley or Talia, would you have some response or some counsel, help us understand this?
Yes.
What we're asking.
So when we use words like identify and those sort of things, it helps with schools that are doing proficiency based grading so that they can help know if a student has met what the standard is. With regards to interviewing people, that would fall under the performance objective of work-based learning because they can have those guest speakers, they can interview. Schools do it differently where they set up questions that they will ask the guest speaker or do a job shadow or things along those lines. So I think that encompasses what Board Member Klein would like. Based off of location or what an interest of a student is under that
I
work
guess,
learning.
I guess I'm wanting them, because I know a lot of people are going to be brought into these classrooms and such. But I also want kids to be able to go out and find on their own something unique to bring back to the class. So it's not just what they're presented at in the class, like help them go out and
I do think
explore and
that,
find.
yeah, I think we create the opportunity. I do think that ends up trying to decide between correcting how a teacher teaches it and, right?
So
Yeah, I have a question
Yeah.
though on what you just said, Ashley. So are you saying that the interview part, so interview two people who found success and personal fulfillment in pathways, that could possibly go under work-based learning? Would that be more appropriate?
If I looked at that strand as a teacher, I would say interview, that would fall under a guest speaker. I would find a guest speaker, work with my work-based learning coordinator or things like that. Again, this is for grades 7th and 8th.
Go out and find
It's very
somebody on their own.
difficult for a 7th or 8th grader to go out to find someone that falls under this category. To interview and create a lesson or whatever, or an assignment for those students. Especially if you have parents that can't take them or vice versa.
Remember Earl,
I don't know. I'll still see this as a performance objective. I don't see it as part of the top. if we wanted to add something in my view, it would be students will participate in at least 2 work-based learning opportunities, and then adding something about which could include entrepreneurial, something like that, some kind of an entrepreneurial, I don't know. I don't see this as narrow chartering. I don't think anybody lives in a narrow chartering of, I don't know of anybody that lives there, but they use these resources that are listed here, including internships, shadowing, all of those, to say to find someone outside of that, or that that's the only way.
It's just to get them to talk to people within their sphere. It could be their parents, an older sibling, it could be an aunt or uncle, a neighbor. Just to say, you know, what did you do? What was your path? How did you find success
Then
in your life, in your career? How did you end up there? Like, just so they can hear how different people ended up where they are,
So could that fall
without
under the
necessarily
job shadow?
requiring, no, not a job
Right, but
shadow.
underneath that, is there something that this could be structured underneath as another
But I think,
opportunity for that? I think
But a
it
job
is.
shadow is specific to a certain career instead of just keeping it wide open.
So this one's under identify industry education opportunities. We've got.
But that's
apprenticeship.
the industry, that's the system. This is
Right, so then you
like
could,
just me talking to, you know, Jennifer Thronson
Okay.
about how she ended up where she
Okay, I
ended up.
think, should
yeah,
we,
we can
are we
either
ready
just
to
vote
vote?
on this. I'm
I-
not really, I know where you want to head. I don't know that this, I'm not sure how to get there, but yeah, go ahead if
Can I
you've got
move
a
it first,
suggestion.
I guess.
Yeah.
And to put interview 2 people who found success and personal fulfillment careers outside existing pathways.
But that's not really
As-
what we're talking about, because what we're talking about is people who used the pathways, which could be college, could be whatever, may have used a variety of them and been able to choose
That's,
where they want in the end.
this is just a sub bullet point under the one we just passed as far as existing pathways. It just expands on that. It doesn't take away from the main idea of the standard. It's just a sub bullet point under the
Ashley
one
has
that
her
we
hand
talked about
up.
with existing
Ashley has
pathways.
Board Member Green, I didn't capture your amendment. You said in amend to state, and then I didn't get the rest of that. So a green amendment, so here's the 2 sub bullets that would go under the new 5th bullet. So there's a new 5th bullet, and then these would be the 2 sub bullets that Board Member Klein is proposing. So Board Member Green just said, can I amend that to state, and then I didn't get what you asked.
Oh, it's actually working.
So let me
Some photos tweeted out.
Let me clarify then first. So right now, interview is a separate bullet point. Is that correct?
It is a separate bullet point.
Yeah.
So there was never a bullet point 5. So now there's a new bullet point 5, therefore there's a new these are 2 brand new sub bullets. And so they're not amending anything else. It's just, yeah.
Everything else remains the same.
So the 2 new bullet points are interview and
Correct.
those 2.
That's the proposed motion.
Ashley has her hand raised. I don't know.
Ashley, please.
I was just going to recommend under the performance objective, when it talks about the work-based learning experiences and it gives artifact examples, if we added interview in there.
Say that again, Ashley.
Instead of as a
Oh.
sub bullet right here.
No, in standard 1 performance objective, because your standard is you want students to investigate people who have found career success outside of existing pathways. As a CCA teacher, that would be to me automatically a work-based learning experience. And so where it says strand 1 performance objective, the 3rd bullet says students will participate in at least 2 work-based learning opportunities, guest speakers, job shadows, career fairs, field studies, and provide an artifact for each experience. Artifact examples could include interview oral presentation, webpage, job shadow reflection, and then that allows that interview piece. So a teacher then has the autonomy to decide what that artifact is, if that's what they choose to do for a lesson for that.
I like that.
Like, yeah, I like. That would be under.
Those-
Under strand one
Then one
performance.
performance objective number 3. It says artifacts examples could include an oral presentation, webpage, job shadow reflection, podcast, etc. We could add interview in there.
It's page 6.
I think we could, definitely add interview. I would still like to keep the bullet point amendment that I've put forward, but I would absolutely add an interview to that paragraph there.
All righty.
So I guess my amendment would be to add interview to brand 1 on performance objectives to the 3rd bullet. When you say interview, does that mean that we're that whole bullet point or just the word interview?
Well, I don't think that whole bullet point would fit in that paragraph. I think she was just saying add interview, the word interview to that paragraph. So
Start there.
And Ashley, can I clarify? Are you saying then if we add interview up there, then using the word interview where we've been discussing it would no longer be needed?
it's just more specific.
Because that the word interview does seem more like an assignment than a standard.
So just a clarification versus what performance objectives are. Performance objectives are activities that a student demonstrates that they can't necessarily do in a traditional like test or things like that. And so by adding interview, it's having them do, they're going out, practicing their communication skills, which are identified in strand 2, and it allows them to also do those work-based learning experiences where then as a class you can say, okay, let's see who you guys all interviewed, and then as a teacher then you could say, oh look, board member Klein, this is how she got to where she was, and this is where board member Booth got to where he is, and then it would lead to a discussion if I was teaching the course, is how I would look at it.
Okay, so we're
I think we
taking
already
your motion,
It's
which
just
is
a
to
different-
add interview to performance objective for strand 1, standard 5, 3rd bullet, as another example of those other words that are there. Everyone, please vote.
Is it,
All
are we
in
voting
favor?
just on the interview?
Just
Just,
what it says.
we're just
Turn it
doing
into
her,
2 bullet points.
just adding interview to that one strand.
So that's what it-
All
Go
in
to that.
favor, say aye.
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 Just adding interview.
Any opposed?
I am-
Okay, so that's added.
Okay.
Now back to,
I would say yes on that. Just had to see what I was voting on.
Yes, no, you're
Um,
advised to do that.
yeah, so now we're back on my 2 sub bullet points. Interviewed 2 people who found success and identify and explain factors that contributed to. So those would both fall under, I see what she's saying as far as these aren't testable. Like standards are what you
It's just
put in an
the
assessment.
top stuff is informational. That's where and that's what I was trying to say. That's why I had to look at everything. The performance things are what's going to happen. Right? This is informational things around it.
Yeah.
So
All right, so is there anywhere to put those specifically as worded under performance instead of just adding the word interview into that one paragraph?
to me, it doesn't, I'm not I personally cannot think of one person who has not in some way interacted with a pathway as listed here. I can't think of one person who hasn't done an internship, a job shadow, an apprenticeship, gone to university, college, tech, or received some other type of training for them to be successful.
Bill Gates would be an example.
And then he didn't go to any college. He didn't go to.
He dropped out. He started
dropped out of
business in
college,
his
but he
garage.
has college experience. What I'm hearing from you is that you're wanting someone who has not had their course charted by going into any of these things. But I don't know if that's really what you're saying. You're saying
The
you want
pathways
people
are
to be able to
becoming
move.
more and more charted. Typically, that wasn't how it was. You could go to college, you could take classes, you could, experiment here and there and try different things. Whereas more and more, it's becoming a charted course.
Is there a career that anyone can think of that doesn't fit into one of the clusters? I've been trying to think of one. That's why I
That's
think
the
it's
thing
just
is
hard.
that people will think of something.
I think I'm ready.
That's
to
why
vote
they
on
continue to
this.
expand.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
That's fine. Let's
whoever
vote.
wants to still discuss it can, but I just
Yeah,
think
we need
the
to move on.
interview down below actually covers that. And I think adding that heading opens the dialogue for those that want to do that. I think we're there.
Okay.
I don't feel
Alright.
comfortable with these two.
Here is
There they are.
the motion from Board Member Klein. Add first sub bullet point under fifth main bullet point. Quote, interview 2 people who found success and personal fulfillment in careers outside existing pathways. And next, identify and explain factors that contributed to their success and fulfillment. That's the motion. No further discussion. Please vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No, oh, what?
No.
I'm,
So it's 3-2.
okay. Are we going down to, I have something in strand 4, unless we have something. Do you
Strand
have
2.
something else?
Yeah,
Two?
strand 2, standard 4, meant to read, gather relevant and accurate information from multiple sources and search engines.
Strand 2, standard 2.
Strand 2, standard 4.
But just simplify that, right? It took off for what you need to know.
I took out for what you need to know.
And then the
And
writing
I'm ready to
committee
vote.
fixed
I
it,
agreed
yeah.
with this, so.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Any further discussion? Not, we're going to move to amend strand 2, standard 4 to read, gather relevant and accurate information from multiple sources and search engines. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's a unanimous vote.
So in strand 4, I have some amendments. And I just think we could simplify this. I don't know if you have mine.
I have
mine.
yours.
It's, well, that's digital literacy. No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
It just, strand 4, it would be striking work life, sorry.
Strand 2, standard 4. Standard 4.
Strand 4? Oh, right here. I have yours.
Strand 4, it's the stressors, the stress one, strand 4. Yeah, so I
Mine's for the strand, not a standard, so.
I have I don't think I have any. It would be striking work-life balance and just putting management strategies in there. So students will demonstrate stress management strategies. Striking work-life balance, and then it would be create a plan to study that leads to it. So the rest of that's the same on the top, the strand. Under standard 1, it would be students will identify. Yes, do you have this?
I got it, yeah.
Someone, I did send it, so.
So remember Earl, it's striking work-life balance, and then what's
Yes.
the next part?
And then do you not have this somewhere?
I don't
It's
have
kind of
it.
lengthy.
It's gonna be,
Okay, let me just double check. If I
I
did.
sent it on Monday. So it should be there somewhere under my digital literacy and,
Oh, do you know where it's probably at the bottom, if it was sent after that date?
It was on Monday,
Here,
so do you have it?
On there.
Okay, and then it would just,
Very bottom.
304.
Right
There it
there.
is, right there. Yep.
okay.
Pull it up there, does that?
Number 16, yeah.
And then under the standard, it would be students will identify a variety of positive stress management strategies. And then you'd leave in stressors, stress management. And then demonstrate stress management in a variety of situations. Work group, anyways. So in other words, it's taking out this work-life balance thing, which I just think we're talking about 7th and 8th graders, so we should be talking about, I understand this is career and college awareness. I just think simplify this. We're just getting to stress management. Anyways, that's mine. So.
It does say work-life balance. When you cut it out.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I just did that. Yeah. So it's just dealing with stressors that.
One motion or two?
Just one. Unless someone wants to
Stress
divide.
management strategies.
Because I do think talking about management strategies is important at stress levels. I do think, you know what, I did have something added to it.
Oh, right here.
No, there. I guess that's.
So there's 3 parts to it that we've identified putting up here that were from you. Capture them.
Yes, on,
On line 9.
yep, okay. So go down then. A variety of positive stress management strategies, okay.
Back up.
Well, yes,
And the one right
and then
below
it's coping strategies, striking work-life balance, and then just on the last one, demonstrating stress management in a variety of situations, striking to develop a work-life balance. So.
Aaliyah and Ashley, are you following this?
The best I can.
I think I did send you my amendments on Monday, so if you're not able to see that clearly, you should have access to that.
Okay, so all I did was copy and paste it. So it's gonna- Strand 4 to read as blank, and strand 4, standard 1 to read as blank, and the sub bullets to read as.
Start at the top and scroll through.
Oh, yep, that's it. And then I added in identify ways that life challenges and stresses lead to individual growth. So that we're actually acknowledging that having stress is not bad. You can actually grow from it and improve. It's not just about removing stress in our life. It's actually realizing that sometimes those challenges benefit us. Actually, often they do.
Find a vote.
All right. Any response from the writing committee? Of 2. I remember it was
It's still better than the A1,
Yeah.
C.
Bingo.
Last night.
So if it's just a batch kind of motion then.
Yep.
all right. No response. We're ready to vote.
Did you have something, Natalie?
I'm just wondering if I can amend to strike study. Study to educational, financial opportunities and risks. So I would strike out the two rigorous course taking patterns and so it says create a plan of study that leads to understanding educational, educational and financial opportunities and risks.
So is that like back to like your other point
Educational and financial.
about pathways?
I just think it's kind of strange language to rigorous course taking patterns.
Leah and Ashley probably would know.
Please go ahead.
The writing committee used this language because obviously as a kid goes through grade by grade by grade, we want them to continually have a rigorous and having a deeper knowledge of whatever it is that they're learning. And so that's just the reason they use that language.
It's just a hard thing to measure or assess.
Early college course. Or advanced courses like 8. I don't know that obviously in rigorous.
That's hard to assess though. It's more subjective instead of just
I take 5 AP
students demonstrate. Let's see.
I think it's just
Just
kind of
create a plan of study that leads to understanding.
To Jenny.
So as, for clarification, what you see in the purple area, board member Earls is there and hers is in red where she wants to add the word strategies, strike out for work-life balance. Board member Klein was accepting that and then asking as what I think is whether it's a friendly amendment to also then take out two rigorous course taking patterns, which is then the black. So board member Klein's amendment to this amendment is what's in black right now.
Yes. And so it just streamlines it. They're still creating a plan of study that leads to understanding educational and financial opportunities and risks for future academic and career goals. So it just more concise. And
Are we clear?
So,
Ready to vote?
so board member Earl, is this a friendly amendment or this is not a?
Let's just make an amendment to, I'm still trying to weigh out whether it adds to it or not, so we can put on it separate to add it.
I don't think it hurts to encourage academic rigor in any way, even if that means they're getting on YouTube and learning how to do some.
that one over and I'm gonna. Not a friendly amendment.
Well, just, you can leave it there. I think we understand. Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, because you're,
I
keep
would,
it,
on
but-
this one, I'd like to.
yeah.
So
Brought back for amendment.
what you're seeing right here is the amendment to be voted on if you're asking.
All right, are we good? Uh,
Can I clarify something? Sorry. Because
Please.
there's not a comma after educational. This strand actually covers three things. It's stress management, creating a plan of study, and then understanding the financial opportunities and obligations. By not having a comma after educational, I think it sounds weird. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. But I just wanted to, that's why there's those commas, is because it's identifying three different things in the strand.
It would only be doing two things if we strike rigorous course taking patterns, right?
One, right? Because it's creating a plan to do that thing.
So it just needs an and, not a comma.
I think it's.
Yeah.
so
okay.
we're looking, let me just be clear, the amendment would be striking and adding something, right?
It would take out rigorous course taking patterns
Rigorous
and
taking patterns.
and then adding the other and.
To understand educational and financial. So if we didn't have that, we would have create a plan of study that leads to rigorous course taking patterns and understanding educational and financial opportunities.
So which one are we voting on? The last column or the second?
The
column?
highlighted,
one there. It
Highlight.
would be striking, right?
yeah, just on the striking, the black strike and all we're
Yeah.
voting on.
You're
We're
not
voting
Any
on
response to
Jenny's.
board member Real's shout out for rigorous courses?
Yeah, we're ready.
No?
They already spoke to it.
Okay, great. Then we're voting on the purple. Board member Klein moves to amend strand 4 to read as,
Yeah, so I think the clarification that's needed is board member Klein's motion is just to strike what's in black and to add the word and.
She was
And then-
keeping Earl's.
Yeah, going back to the original motion, which hasn't been voted on
Right.
yet.
This would
is
just
board
be an
member Earls.
amendment to
So
that.
that therefore I'm only adding in what board member Klein would like to have, and then we have to go back to the
Yep.
original
That's
motion.
right.
So I took this part out and I just kind of, maybe we'll
Like
do
Klein
1, 2, 3 like this.
Yep.
Okay.
okay, so we're doing board member Klein moves to amend strand 4 to read as, quote, create a plan of study that leads to understanding educational and financial opportunities and risks for future academic and career goals. That's a lot of ands.
I think that's kind of what Ashley was saying.
Yeah, I mean, we can put a comma here. It's not grammatically.
Understanding educational and financial opportunities and risks for future academic.
I would need, yeah.
So that's what we're voting on. All in favor?
I,
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. Okay, so were you an aye? A nay. So that's how. All right, so now we're back to highlighted motion. Strand board member Earl moves to amend strand 4 to read as students will demonstrate stress management strategies, create a plan of study that leads to rigorous course taking patterns and to understanding educational, financial opportunities and risks for future academic and career goals.
And it continues, there's,
Or is there more?
yes.
Keep reading.
So, go ahead,
So
board member Earl, if you could see.
do you want me to read it? I can read up. Okay. Students will identify a variety of positive management strategies. And then you keep stressors, strike, coping strategies, keep stress management in, strike work-life balance. That section, and then adding identify ways that life challenges and stresses lead to individual growth. Then demonstrate stress management. That probably should have strategies there, huh? In a variety of situations. Yes, it probably needs strategies added to it. So strategies would have highlighting that so that you know that's the addition. A variety of situations, and then just the examples that are there. That's it.
And the highlight on stress is, we want to emphasize it, or is it gone, or?
No, stress is there. Stress management's there. Stressors are there. I don't know why that's there.
I copy pasted, so.
Okay.
Okay, is that clear to everybody? Is there discussion?
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, all in favor of that motion that was just read?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No,
I like some of it, but not all of it.
okay, that's 4-1.
I move we approve the college and career awareness cluster, or what is it? not clusters, it's
Standard.
CTE course to the full board.
Like to amend.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So-
Member Klein.
I would to substitute language for strand 2, standard 4, amending it to read gather relevant information from multiple sources. Oh, we did that one, sorry.
Yeah.
Strand 4. Amend strand 4 to read create a plan of study and course taking that will lead to understanding and educational and financial opportunities and risks.
Did that
We
one.
just did that.
That was part of that.
I think we did 10, touch all the others
Sorry.
unless I'm wrong. That's all right, go ahead. and-
Okay, no, strand 4, under the performance objectives, I would move to strike the third bullet point.
What's the third bullet
It
point?
says insights and reflections, positive and negative, related to the individual process of middle/junior high school, high school, post-secondary and career preparation.
Where are you at again? Sorry.
Strand 4, performance objectives,
Strand 4,
the third bullet point.
performance objectives.
Oh, I see.
Insights and reflections, positive and negative, related to the individual process of blah, blah, blah.
Was that on our document? I don't remember seeing.
That's
those.
one I
It's written-
submitted this last week.
Oh.
So if
okay.
you scroll down to, in the live document,
And to create a
tell me which one it is again.
assessment, insights and reflections.
Well, it's this week.
It's strand 4, performance objective, third bullet point.
Strand 4 performance. and
Yeah, I
strand
don't Oh, so you're wanting to add something. Is that right?
No, to strike bullet point 3.
Okay. All right.
Under performance objectives?
Strand
Line
4,
11.
performance objectives.
Here's strand 4 performance objective.
11 right there.
Okay.
Yep, it's right there.
So you want to strike, I'm just making sure I understand, because when I read this, what I'm reading is that the students in 7th and 8th grade will begin to reflect upon how they can prepare to attend college or career. And this is kind of, to me, this kind of gives the opportunities for that.
This is insights and reflections, positive and negative. I just don't feel like we should be, I think it's intrusive and opening them up to, it's subjective and it's possibly getting them to
Insights,
divulge personal information.
Isn't that sort of like the whole purpose of this course is to then reflect back on what you want to do and your
This is about
post-secondary-
their feelings.
Well,
this-
but it's their insights and reflections, like,
Related to individual process of going to school.
so it's like,
So is there a different way to say that then? That doesn't, I mean, I think this is,
I mean, they have to reflect on it in order to learn and to know where they want to go from that here, which is kind of the purpose of this course, right?
We need to make it more objective then instead of, and less subjective.
Okay, how do we do that?
Yeah, I'd rather.
Question.
like, insights.
Insights and reflections. Right now,
How about just insights to the process of career exploration or something like that.
Sorry, we just switched off. So can you repeat that? Insights, I heard process.
of middle school, junior high school, post-secondary, and career preparation.
Let's begin to create a program.
Insights of identify, or what's the word,
You copied over for me, thank you.
better word? Or
That's what I'm trying to,
dif-
because I'm trying to understand where you want to go without, because we do want them to say, this is a strategy or a plan for moving forward, right?
right,
This is what it
we
looks
just want to
like.
get away from the
Okay, so,
reflections, like observations related to, how about we just replace insights and reflections, positive and negative, to observations, personal observations, or just observations related to the individual process.
I don't think that changes anything.
It's still,
So
it's
that's-
still doing it, but
Yeah,
that's fine.
so-
If you wanted to say it that way, that's fine. I mean, I love and appreciate the opportunity for them to reflect and to think about, hey, I'm nervous about paying for college, or I'm, this, I still don't feel like I know where I'm going, and having that experience to kind of just start thinking about it. I mean, if I had it my way, they'd start thinking about this stuff a lot more. Like, what's my plan and where do I want to go?
Yeah,
And what are all the
I'm just trying to stick with the outer objectives of the course,
Yeah.
related to the process. And experience that they're having, like with just the objective
Oh, I think
process.
Ashley, please go ahead.
Sorry. So in the green column, you'll notice that the performance objectives, there's only 2 bullets. There's not a third bullet. So the changes that you're making were what went to public comment.
So it already got removed in public comment.
So no, it's not removed. So there was,
bullet
when,
two.
excuse me, when counselors were reviewing it, and teachers were reviewing it, teachers thought that they were required to do the plan for college and career readiness. So my counseling counterpart that I had on the writing committee wanted to combine the second and third bullet together. So I just wanted to make sure as you're making changes that you're doing it on the correct
Yes.
bullet.
I am looking at the original and amending the original. I like the original better as far as the first 2 bullet points, a career assessment and a plan for college and career readiness. I feel like that covers it. And if we need to add that back in, if those 2 were taken out, are they still there in the third column?
They were not taken out. We combined.
So I would,
and 3.
if we're going off the green, I would strike the second bullet point and replace it with the second bullet point in the original.
So Ashley, I think what I'm hearing you say, because I think I've heard this same, tell me if I'm wrong, but the plan for college to actually, the point of reflection is to get them thinking about it, to actually establish a plan a lot of kids don't know for sure where they're going.
It's not objectively measurable.
I understand. So let's see if we can find a word. I'm just not, the reason why we didn't actually make him do a plan is because it kind of doesn't work really for 7th and 8th graders yet. Some of them are ready, some of them are not.
Right. I wanted to.
That's why there's a reflective nature, but let's find a word that will work for you. How about contemplate?
Observation is more objective
Where would
and
you
measurable.
Where would you put that?
Oh, that's what I put, observations.
Insights and observations.
Identify, or observe the process, or make observations.
Like discuss, is it like? Is it a
Okay, just-
conversation? Is this in a writing?
Yep.
Are we writing
We
something?
can write it, we can discuss it, but we can write observations, we can discuss observations.
Great, great.
Point of clarification, if we go to the beginning on line 11, it's talking about a performance objective and a portfolio. It's saying that the portfolio includes. And so you're creating a portfolio that includes, which is why the rest do not have a verb with them. So the portfolio includes a career assessment. It also includes insights and reflections, and it also has that at the bottom. The writing committee in green combine bullets 2 and 3 by having bullet 2 become the end of the combination. So
we just need observations to the process.
I don't know the observations hits it for me. Not sure.
Correct. I just want to make sure.
Correct. It in order to follow the observations to the process.
It's out then too.
Yes.
For point of clarification, I heard you say that you did not want what the writing committee said. You're referring back to the first original
yes.
third bullet. So
Right.
over
I
here,
didn't like them
yeah.
combined. I think they should be
So
separate.
would you like for me to also add right here? So you're going to add this. So you're going to strike this first part, add this, and then you are going to maintain 3 separate bullets. Correct?
How about instead of observations, something like investigations or something? Observations means you're
This is their
distantly,
portfolio.
you're distantly looking at something. I think if you're investigating possibilities, I don't know. I still think reflection is the appropriate word.
Yeah,
Because you're
they're-
reflecting on what you've learned and what opportunities are out there. You're taking those into consideration.
They could be
Well,
writing. it.
reflecting is what happens here, but what goes into the portfolio is the observation from the reflections.
I
It's
mean-
what you actually put on paper.
So like
Reflection is like most common.
Would
Yeah.
Journal reflections and
Journal or
anything.
written reflections.
Written
teacher
reflections.
comment right here that says, you know, explains what they learned from their career assessments and PCR, so perhaps a presentation. So she was highlighting how this looks for her. Manifest in students.
I think, you know, that's like the biggest part of learning is like reflect back on what you've learned, how that's going to apply to your life and
But
your
it's-
plan for the future.
But if it's a standard, it needs to be objective.
And reflection is not objective.
It could be though. It very well could be.
It's not, you have an observation or something which is a concrete objective observation, where it's reflective, it's all over the board.
A teacher, what they have in the portfolio would reflect,
Yes.
it's the
So
reflection
reflective,
on these items.
but that's internal, where the observation is external. And that's what we show, that's what is graded, that's what's assessed.
I
Is
think
the
it's,
outer.
I think it's fine how it is. So I'm ready.
Okay, so how is it? Is it the purple thing?
It's the purple starting from, if we can scroll, so that says
Starting
strand
up.
4. Yeah,
Strand 4, performance objectives, strike original third bullet point. Add observations to the process of middle, junior, high school, post-secondary and career preparation.
and as well.
And plan for college. Where do we get the
So
college and career readiness, the PCCR?
From the original
Yeah,
bullet. It's the first. Plus, of observation. Observation language as the third bullet point.
So like over here, career assessment, a plan for college and career readiness, and then third,
Yes.
observations to the process.
So everything in that strand is the same except for the third bullet point, which you're changing to the, okay.
So, and just referencing this comment here, I think the performance objective on strand 4 could be changed to something else that teachers have more control over, which I think is addressing, are we presenting something that is measurable? I don't have access to my students' PCR, so it's hard for me to have students add that to a portfolio. I also find it hard to put their career assessments in. So would prefer students create a document that explains what they learned from their career. Which brings this down to insights and reflections versus observations.
Right.
And
so-
which ones we feel would be something that would be measurable. I mean, and I would see a teacher say, tell me what you learned, how did
which
you
is a
feel
type of
about it?
reflection.
It does.
But it's
go
not
to-
intrusive into,
Anyway,
Okay, I'm
just wanted to.
Ready to vote? Okay, first two bullets are what they were in column 1, career assessment. Secondly, that's a plan for college and career readiness. CR, add observations to the process of middle, junior high school, post-secondary and career preparation. All those in favor?
I,
Those opposed?
No.
So that fails.
Go back to the original motion.
Go back to, so what is the original motion?
The original motion's at the top,
Pass.
row 1.
Up top?
Yep.
Okay.
I have an amendment to the motion.
Okay. We have an amendment to the motion. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Board Member Klein.
I move to strike all of strand 4, standard 1.
Strike all of strand 4, standard 1.
Line 10.
Ready to vote?
Yes.
What we just voted on a minute ago, right? We made changes to.
I got it. I got it.
So you want to strike what we just voted on earlier?
The entire strand,
That's-
or the entire strand 4, standard 1.
You want to speak to that?
I just feel like, we're moving into areas where we shouldn't. It's more a social emotional area. And while stress management is good, it's taught under the current framework of social emotional learning. We're moving into an area that we shouldn't, and I don't think that it's objectively measurable or accessible, which a standard is meant to be.
Okay. Any discussion or questions?
No.
All right. We're ready then to vote. Board Member Klein's amendments, strike strand 4, standard 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
4 to 1, the motion fails. Amendment fails. Any further amendments? We go back to the original motion. Okay, the original motion is Board Member Earl.
Have it.
To move the college and career awareness to the full board for approval. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. All right, great.
Number 2 unanimous.
2-minute break to
Sure.
your business or yes, 2 minutes,
2 minutes.
just real quick, and we'll be back. Continue our discussion.
Around the parking lot again.
I know.
What did we decide yesterday?
Too fast, and I'm so excited for the sunshine. I'll go with you.
Oh, so you better be quick.
All right. Do you have the key? Oh, we don't need it.
I got it.
Literacy motions.
Well,
Let's make sure that we're-
how many?
And let me
Yeah, that's what I do.
Civic clerk view. So I
Went for a
have
walk after
excellent
this today.
Oh, it was right here.
on top. I was like looking all over for it, like,
Oh, and it was
where'd
right there
go?
for you. Digital literacy. It's here.
I don't think so.
And I'm gonna pull up the draft as well, so we see. Okay. Then I have, I think that I have every piece. No, we haven't even got to those yet.
They're not on the agenda for
They are.
today. They are. Okay.
We have 7 on the agenda today. It was a very, very, what is it called? View.
Jerry, I don't have any sound down up on Zoom. Are we ready to go? Oh, Jerry's, I can see him in the room, but I don't have any sound. So if you want to text him really quick.
No
But-
sound in the room
Yeah, yeah.
on Zoom.
I think they need to unmute Standards Committee host,
Okay. Uh,
and I can't do it. I can't I can click ask to unmute, but I can't unmute him.
Thank you very much. We're moving on.
Are there forks?
The next item on our agenda is
Work very well.
action item 1.4, digital literacy standards. Open for a motion or amendment? Yes.
To amend standards. Let's see. My new ones have been added, right?
Yeah, that's yours right there. Yep.
Okay. Amend the course description to read. This course expands student understanding of technology, the importance of protecting individual data, using key applications, developing computer fundamentals, and protecting against digital addiction and online predators. Students will have opportunities to use digital devices, develop useful skills that help them research and accomplish tasks. Sorry, I don't show the strikeouts or underlines.
That's right.
So what did you change?
Natalie Klein to amend the description. The most recent from the writing committee is here in the green. Here is the proposed amendment. Course expands student technology. So that's the basic community fundamentals.
Okay.
Those. Protecting individual safety. Emissions.
I think the green box goes. Writing committee and then. I gotta go. I think.
Any discussion, questions?
Just take 1 second. So are you cutting out all of the other parts of the course description?
But this is what it would read as.
The whole description?
The way I have it on the right.
Replace the one. in the
Yeah,
green.
right. I just didn't know if it was a segment or what. I have a question. I don't know if this is still yeah. Can you hear us?
Andrea, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Ashley and Talia, are you back with us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Can you explain it says this course is aligned with the International Society for Technology and in Education. What is,
That has been removed.
oh, it has, okay.
So the
Okay,
green,
never mind.
the green column is what the
Oh,
writing
okay.
committee suggested after public comment.
So when I made, because I had a lot of questions about this course, when you explained to me that this course, if I were to give it an elevator pitch, it is how to be a good steward of the internet, how to be a responsible digital citizen, and how to navigate and stay safe online, right? It's
Yes.
less about the technology piece. It's not about programming. It's not about like that piece, right? It's more so how to be a good digital citizen, right?
Correct.
Okay.
In a nutshell, it's for those students that are consumers on electronic devices, which everyone is, to be digitally literate, ethically responsible when using those devices. It's not for a student to become a creator, though there are some key applications such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, navigating the internet, but those are typical majority of things that students and people use devices for.
Deputy Superintendent Norman, what impacts are there on the standards when the intro is adjusted in this way?
Whenever an introduction is changed, there just, I don't know if the maker of the motion, so it could be anybody,
Right.
has gone through then and made all of the additional changes throughout the rest of the document. So that would just be an awareness piece for the committee to make sure that if a change was made at this point in time, that you see that reflected in what happens next. So maybe the maker of the,
Sorry.
so
And I did
so
take that
so
into
it depends.
consideration.
Can we go through and make Natalie, can we save this amendment to the end? So we can actually go through the document if we make any changes and then reflect back on the work we did and make sure it aligns with what's there. Does that make sense?
Did you want to?
So we go to the next
What I'm,
motion.
also,
then?
I'm asking is to
Right.
postpone this action
But
till the
but
last.
there is an amendment on the floor, so
I'd like to make an amendment that make a motion that we postpone this amendment until the end of our discussion on this item, through the digital literacy, so that we can fully reflect back and make sure that as we make changes, that in the end, that this reflects what we do.
What you've done.
Yeah,
that's fine.
is that,
Yeah.
okay?
So that's
And if we need it, we'll probably need
an
to vote.
amendment.
Just to postpone this till the end of this.
Okay.
CTE.
This is garbage.
Any further discussion?
I'll just say,
Thank you so much.
I'm totally fine with this. I just think it's important that we follow that process as far as, and not get into sloppy habits as far as just changing things instead of, if there's a motion, we need to amend the motion. You know what I mean? Just so
For
it's
sure.
all on record.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just want to
No, I
make,
don't
because I don't want to
yeah.
end up not amending anything, but
Right.
amend the beginning,
Right.
and then we have to go back. So, yeah.
That works.
Okay, great. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Please go ahead.
Okay. Have a motion on Strand 1, Standard 2 to add learn and strike physical health to read students will learn and demonstrate the benefits of proper touch typing and keyboarding techniques.
Strand 1, standard what? 2?
Strand 1, Standard 2. Yeah. I can speak to that if you want.
I would.
So the physical health is just already implied in the language. It doesn't need to be explicitly stated. And you say the benefits of proper touch typing and keyboarding. It's more, so it's just more concise and written more like a standard.
So, but you're not changing reduces, are you looking at a motion to change reduces repetitive stress injuries like carpal tunnel, neck strain, back pain. Are you gonna change any of that?
No,
So,
no, this is just the strand.
yes, so the physical health,
Description.
yes, so the physical health is referenced down under those. I mean, the one is very specific as to what the standard says, so I'm comfortable.
Right,
with leaving-
that's the benefits.
Right, I'm comfortable with leaving physical health in. That's all I'm saying. Unless we're changing other things, because that does articulate that, so.
You're saying that you just think it's like obvious.
Right,
Okay.
there's other benefits besides just physical. So it just doesn't limit it to just that. It just, I think it just covers the bullet points better. Just leave it as the benefits of.
Okay, so can I articulate what I'm seeing then?
Are we
Because
clear?
you're saying it's more than physical health that you could benefit, like the efficiency and accuracy, but we're only saying physical health above. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, I understand that. All right, I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
Good. Any further discussion? Ready to vote? So the member Klein moves to amend strand 1, standard 2 to read, students will learn and demonstrate the benefits of proper touch typing and keyboarding techniques.
Yes.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay, I have a motion on strand 2, standard 1. Add and SSD, and that came from the public comment next to hard drive under bullet point that says storage. So it will say hard drive and
Tell me the standard
SSD.
one more time.
Strand 2, standard 1.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Yeah. Is that like two separate things, hardware, comma SSD, or is that like?
they're like under storage devices. I'm trying to find where that was in the public comments where they explained it.
Oh, right there, you add that bullet. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, so and just adding and SSD next to hard drive in the bullet.
Should we
So it's
spell
under
that out?
storage. Are you saying
Yeah.
that?
We should spell that out, not use the acronym.
That's fine.
I don't know what it
That's
stands
where
for.
you can spell it out and put the acronym in parentheses next to it.
Do you know what it stands for?
I'm trying to remember.
Not my area.
Is it secondary
Solid-
storage?
solid
Secondary
state
storage
drive.
device?
Solid state drive.
Thank you. And then also part of that amendment is strike primary and replace with secondary to read identify secondary peripheral devices. That was corrected in the public comment as well, that these are secondary.
Okay, would we need to do that then, or is that already done? If they changed it. in the
They didn't
public
change
comment.
it. They didn't change it. The writing committee didn't fix that. Like you have your primary devices and then your secondary peripheral devices, and they have it reading as primary peripheral, and it needs to be corrected.
Okay. Got it?
That's the end of that motion. So
All right. Add an SSD next to hard drive under storage, strike primary and replace with secondary to read identify secondary peripheral devices. This is the third part of it.
no, this is it. That's it.
That's it.
I'm ready to vote.
Ready to vote? Do I need to repeat the motion? Okay,
Just did.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, thank you, Nick.
Motion on strand 2, standard 2. To add the pros and cons. To add the pros and cons. So that it reads, compare the pros and cons of cloud-based applications versus computing-based software. Again, that's based on public comment.
So underneath there, it's where is the data stored? what are the requirements to access software, who has access to the data, and then what are the pros and cons? Is that what you're wanting to do?
I just added it to the actual standard. Yep. So it says compare the pros and cons of cloud-based applications versus computer-based software.
So it's in the actual standard.
Yes.
Right here.
I think it's better, I think it would be better placed down under at the comparison where it says compare cloud-based applications versus computing-based software. I think it would be better to add, we have where is it stored? What are the requirements? Who has access? What are, something like, what are the pros and cons?
Okay, so just under that bullet point, maybe that's where I meant for it to be. Just add the pros and cons.
I just think it's better sitting there. If that, does that sound all right?
Yeah, as the bullet point where it says compare cloud-based in that bullet point.
Just
Is
one
that
of
what
those
you're
bullet
talking about?
points, one of them.
Yeah, where it says compared, the bullet point
Yeah.
where it says compared to cloud-based, just add
Right there.
pros and cons. Oh, and I see what you're saying as a
Yeah.
sub bullet point.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Friendly amendment for all? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Is there any further
just-
discussion?
Change my amendment, so you don't have
Oh,
to
you want to finish?
amend the amendment.
Are we going to vote or you want to amend the amendment?
Oh,
We need it to be a question, so.
yeah, so what,
clarify. Adding just the pros and cons.
what
Yeah.
are the pros and
What are
cons?
the pros and cons? Yes, that works.
Terrific. All right, we ready to vote? Board Member Klein moves to add, what are the pros and cons under the bullet point? Compare cloud-based applications versus computing-based software. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Vote. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
We're all for it. Thanks.
I have a motion on strand 3. That we amend strand 3 to read, students will use digital tools to connect to the internet, navigate websites, and send and receive communications digitally.
Sorry, I have you keep repeating. I'm just sliding down. So it's on
That's
strand 3.
Strand 3.
And what was the standard?
description?
Oh, student, okay, students.
Students will use digital tools to connect to the internet, navigate websites, and send and receive communications.
So you're striking
digitally.
enrich their learning.
Trying to be more objective, less subjective.
Well, I do think it does enrich their learning.
It
though.
may, but it doesn't need to be part of
it-
the standard.
But it. Let me look at what we're measuring.
Mentions in strand 3 over here. Is that what you're
That was the
changing?
original, so the green is the one you want to look at.
Oh, okay.
I did the same. thing.
Talia and or Ashley, question, can you explain what the writing committee, maybe if they had any conversations with why they included enrich their learning? My assumption is that there's classroom learning, there's textbook learning, but we don't have encyclopedias in the house anymore. You can enrich your learning by discovering all of the things that are online. So that would be my assumption, but I don't know if the writing committee had any comments on that.
Yeah, so we know that kids can get on devices to play games for hours, watch YouTube, and it doesn't necessarily enhance anything. And so we wanted them to understand that using these digital tools to enhance their learning in the class instead of just they already know how to connect to the internet. They already know how to navigate websites. So let's do it to enrich what they're doing in the classroom or in their everyday life.
Like that.
Okay,
Well, that's pretty critical.
I am just
That's
looking
the
at the
story.
standards to this and saying, do we address the enrich your learning portion? I don't have a problem with enrich their learning, but I don't know that we actually do that in the standards. So we identify the components of the internet. We explain how to connect to and navigate the internet.
And they're saying that part of that learning about how to use the internet is how to use the internet to learn, not just how to use the internet to get on social media or how to use the internet to play games or whatnot. It's actually like applying all of the ways they can learn. They are learning how to use the internet, which they all already know how to do. So now it's saying enrich their learning. So how can you use these tools to learn?
Well, I think if we wanted to, I see what you're saying. But I think enrich is very subjective. So if there's a more objective way of saying that, use these tools for the purpose of academic education or something like that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You just put students will
Advanced,
use
that is
digital
the word.
tools to learn.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to have anything before it. There's no subjectivity. Students will use digital tools to learn by connecting.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Good. Is that a friendly amendment?
I will adjust my amendment.
I didn't make, I can't make amendments is what I'm saying. It's not my amendment. It was a suggestion for you to
So
go.
my amendment will read, students will use digital tools to learn by connecting to the internet. Or actually, students will use digital tools for the purpose of learning.
True.
Purpose of learning.
Connecting to the internet.
Yeah.
Good with that.
Okay, are we good? All right. There's seeing no more discussion. Board Member Klein moves to amend Round 3. Students will use digital tools for the purpose of learning through connecting to the internet, navigating websites, and sending and receiving communications digitally. Those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
I have a motion on strand 3, performance skill. For it to read, students will demonstrate how to send emails for a variety of purposes and audiences. Students will describe how digital communication tools can be used to accomplish tasks.
I like it the way it was written, just because that's one of the most incredible parts about the internet is that we can connect with people all around the world. And the way that work is now, we can be working on it with a team from Ireland or from Australia, and knowing and learning that you can communicate without borders or restrictions in that way, I think is important. I also love the idea of teaching them how to collaborate via email, because boy, is that something we all do every day. And there's right ways and wrong ways to do that.
I think it is inherent in what's already there. It doesn't take out that aspect by not stating it. It just is more standard friendly. It's more objective without adding in the editorializing aspect of it. Stick to the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, it's not like a deal breaker for me, but
Is the global
part maybe
is
more
the
so.
global part an integral part of the strand, so that curriculum, we're trying to give them
Yeah.
experiences in that global.
We talk about digital citizenship, which is that we all might live in different places, but we all interact together online.
But that's in a different part of the standard.
Right, but that's part of the course is learning that.
Natalie, what about on the second one? I'm just trying to throw out some ideas here, but students will describe how digital communication tools can be used to accomplish. Instead of accomplish, digital tools can be used to work effectively. Just suggestion.
Well, I had effectively in there before and realized that there's some subjectivity to that. Efficiently or effectively, then you have to like, okay, but what exactly does that mean? And then that opens up.
But we do want, that's
It
part of
is essential. I mean, it's implied in like technology, like that's just, it's just implied. That's why technology exists.
not necessarily. And the reason I would almost argue that because just having an email does not mean you're effective. As a matter of fact, sometimes having an email and not knowing how to manage things creates a very inefficient mechanism, right?
Yeah.
You help someone.
Well, I was thinking,
effectively do that
I was
today.
thinking that if I were to make a meme of this strand, it would be, this meeting could have been an email, right? Or this email should have been a meeting. Because you really have to understand, like, what are we trying to work through in that way, which is super
And
applicable.
I think the point of actually going through each of these pieces for the students in here is how to clean up an email, how to, do you know what I mean? How to get rid of
Don't
spam.
reply all.
So it begs efficiency or effectiveness.
So what if we said accomplish tasks for a specific purpose?
Okay, let me see.
To achieve a specific
We'll
purpose.
describe how
like
digital
that better.
communication tools can be
Can
used.
we
to
include
accomplish-
locally and globally still on there?
So that's kind of where I'm struggling as well with this, just, I mean, we have an extension of ours. Right, so there's time changes, there's all these different elements. Accommodate or how we interact because we are
What grade is this for?
all of the children, it's true.
Do we want these younger kids interacting with
Well-
students on the other side of the world and collaborating with them?
This is where
Do we
I'm
want
like-
online classrooms where they're somewhere other, possibly in a classroom with kids in China that are, and then they have to listen to or take those perspectives of those students and incorporate. So it's, then we get into the digital citizenship. Does that blur our national borders to the point where we have to start accepting,
It's already
adopting other cultures and like digital citizenship? Like citizenship implies responsibility to somebody, and who is that somebody of a global or digital world, right? Because America has a very distinct culture and way of doing things versus Russia or China, and
There's no harm.
digital citizenship and this idea of global, like the technology and the capabilities are incredible, and it does allow us to work with people across borders, and that's great. It's where we start to blur the lines, and we have now a digital citizenship, which now we have obligations to something beyond what we as citizens of America are beholden to, or that we ascribe to.
I
Like
understand
it
what you're saying, but
brings
this
in
is,
a whole new level of
but that's why this is teaching
government.
this is teaching them how to be responsible. So if they're interacting with someone and it feels dangerous or unsafe, that's what this course is teaching them.
and
We can interact with
digital
other cultures.
responsibility instead of digital citizenship.
Well, we can interact with other cultures
Yeah.
and not be infiltrated by
But
that,
we
but
can
have an
be-
understanding of them.
Yeah.
Like it's like
But
we used to have
citizenship
pen pals, right?
implies that we have an obligation to somebody or some entity, like as citizens of America, that implies something different than citizens of China or Russia, for example.
But we're all citizens of the global interconnected internet.
That sounds like a one world kind of.
It is. I can FaceTime
But
someone
we,
from India.
but
in
we
this
need
moment
to,
if wanted
I just reject the premise altogether. Like we are not citizens of the globe. We are citizens of America. And to imply that digital citizenship implies that we are beholden to something beyond America. And so digital responsibility is something very different than digital citizenship.
So is there such a thing as digital American citizenship?
No.
No.
So
there is
but
no-
what I'm saying is that to me, you're saying that, well, then their cultures and their ideas will infiltrate if kids engage with them. Wouldn't
I'm
it be
saying, like,
wouldn't it
they're-
be equally the same thing that then ideas from here could infiltrate?
Yes, citizenship
So-
implies allegiance to somebody or something. That's different than
We're not,
necessarily
I don't know that we're
digital
arguing
responsibility.
citizenship here.
Well, we aren't, but that's where it kind of, the bringing in the global aspect, she immediately tied it to digital citizenship because it does imply that they are, when you start saying digital citizenship and adding in globally under the digital literacy, that's where it goes together. Like that's where it's all converging.
Let's get the
So-
experts to pipe in and give us a definition of digital citizenship before we go too far.
Well, we actually have one in law, so we
We
don't
do?
even have
Oh,
to.
okay. Never mind.
And I mean, read that, but I'm not sure this is relevant here, but digital citizenship, this is from law, means the norms of appropriate, responsible, and healthy behavior related to technology use, including digital literacy, ethics, etiquette, and security. But I don't know that that's what we're dealing with here. We're talking about the ability to engage in different global type of situations. When we're talking globally, it could be work, it could be relationships. And when I say relationships, I'm talking, I have son in Africa. Do you know what I mean? These
Right.
kind of things that we engage with
That's where
others.
it is covered and describe how digital communication tools can be used to accomplish a task for a specific purpose, or maybe you can broaden that out to
Just adding, that's what I was saying.
communicate beyond borders.
I feel like a specific purpose could be a good compromise, only because if I were a teacher, I'd be like, oh, okay, how to write an email, how to say thank you email, how to send out an invite through these different platforms, how do you turn in an assignment, which means how do you attach a PDF? Like, for me,
I'm good with it
there's-
too, actually.
There's
Yep.
tons of, I would see a teacher being able to accommodate all of the different tasks that are associated with interacting with the digital realm.
Yeah.
So it seems even a little bit more expansive. And I think it accommodates locally or globally, because I do believe that that is important. And I do believe that's that's what our world is. So
Yeah.
specific purpose opens that up, says teacher, you know how you want to have your children do specific things in this class. Be creative, make it relevant, go for it. That's just my thoughts.
Any further discussion? All right, the motion before us is to amend strand 3 performance skill to read. Students will demonstrate how to send emails for a variety of purposes and audiences. Students will describe how digital communication tools can be used to accomplish tasks for a specific purpose. Further discussion? Everyone in favor, say aye.
Hi.
I
Opposed?
No.
have a motion on strand 4 to amend it to read, students recognize the risks of learning and working online. Risks that, should say that, learning and working online pose to their privacy, personal relationships, and individual liberty. Students learn to conscientiously limit their time online in order to stay connected to the physical world around them and nurture meaningful in-person relationships with family and friends in the physical world rather than rather than a virtual online world. So this is, can I speak to that?
Please.
So this is just to not take away from the digital aspect of digital literacy, but to balance it for that wellness of the whole person. So because digital wellness is more than just finding strategies to be well while online, but it also requires balancing your online activity with real world in-person activity if we want true wellness.
I think that their modification, meaning because they went through and made some changes. I like theirs. I think Remember Klein yours becomes a little bit wordy to me and redundant, whereas theirs hits what you're saying to me. Model behaviors that are safe, legal, and ethical while balancing in-person responsibilities and relationships. I think it still hits that, but it doesn't give the lengthy discussion about it. So I would be for what came from the writing committee on this one. Because I think it does hit those things, that in-person responsibilities and relationship elements.
So are you amending?
I'm not amending. I'm just speaking that I would be speaking against this motion and just for
So,
what came out of the writing committee.
In the initial in the introduction of the standards, it said, it talked about students living online. And to me, that's highly problematic. And the way that this is worded, students recognize the rights, responsibilities, and risks of living, learning, and working in an interconnected world. To me, takes me back to that introduction where it says students living online. And that's not the world we want for our kids, to think that their life is lived online. And so I took out that language and just put the risks of learning and working online. Because I don't want what we were teaching in digital literacy to be conflated with, or to make it sound like we are encouraging students to do everything online. There needs to be that balance if we actually want our children to be well. And because there's endless studies about the damage done to the mental well-being of students when they spend too much time online. Even if it's doing good things, they need to be offline. And so I just reject the premise that we should be encouraging or writing things in such a way that makes it sound like that's normal.
Risks
It's
of
not
living,
normal.
I just guess I'm looking at the language again. Risks of living, learning, and working in an interconnected digital world.
Right? So that living part
It just means
reflects
like
back
we
to
all
the,
live in a digital world, right? It's not saying that they are like, they don't
but
exist.
in the introduction, it literally said living online.
Okay, so we may have to fix the introduction. What
yes.
I'm looking at here, and this is why we're waiting for that introduction, is so we could go through and see what we've made. I don't, in what I'm
That's why we
reading
need to
here.
fix it here so that it matches how I fixed it in the introduction.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Well, I do like what they came up with the risks of learning, living.
Pull that back.
Oh,
You scroll
yeah,
a
yeah,
little bit,
sorry.
just to the green.
Yeah,
there you
it's just being
One
framed
more.
as if that's normal, and it's not okay to frame it that way.
With the risks, because it does address it,
Right, and
the
I have
rights,
that in mind.
responsibilities, risks.
But it's focused on the risks of learning and working online.
If we took, would you be
Yeah, there's
comfortable
lots
with
of risks.
digital citizenship and wellness? Students recognize the rights, responsibilities, and risks of learning and working in and then the rest of it the same. And just taking living out of it. On the green, from what the writing committee came back with.
Well, and then you get into
Living,
It
just
just
living.
the risks of learning, working, and all the rest
So
of
it
it.
strikes the living part.
Yeah. They, this is really like the way it's being framed is making kids look at their life through a digital lens instead of digital or technology as a tool to help with their regular life. It's framing it as though technology is life.
But we took living out, so I mean, I don't think it
But
says
even the
that.
rest is, that's why.
The rest of it is
when
kind
you've
of the whole-
got, it's more like privacy is a big part. Like we're moving into a realm where like this room is completely wired up, like wherever you go, you can be heard. And people out there listening to us can hear us. When we had our Christmas party in here, the table that was over here was being mic'd over to the table on the other side, and the other side literally said, hey, you guys over there, we can hear you perfectly. It's like you're sitting at the table with us. Right. So there are elements of the
And that's
world
where
that
the
we're living
safe,
in.
legal and ethical part comes in.
Well, and then who defines safe, legal, and ethical?
We do later.
So do we?
We have it in this document.
There's safe things, like if someone steals your identity on, there's all of that
Yeah.
they go through.
Yeah, it
We
does.
can, I'm good to vote on board member Klein's, and then we can move from there.
Hey. Member Klein,
There isn't anything in what they have that talks about that balance and trying to limit time online and
There's a whole list of
nurturing
part of
those.
that. Demonstrate the knowledge of online safety, security, and online privacy.
Perpetrator, victim.
But that's
strategies.
all about while they're on tech, instead of balancing their use of tech with real world relationships. And so that's what I'm trying to bring in is the balance, or to not have everything that we're teaching kids through the lens of living in technology.
Except for this is.
It is digital literacy, but it's also about, they're talking about wellness, like digital wellness, but part of that incorporates that balance. And they're only talking about wellness as it pertains to being on tech, and everything is framed around tech as being the center of their lives, instead of just adding that other dimension to say, this is a tool, this is a part of life, but it is not life itself. Like you should have a life outside of tech.
Yeah, and I mean, I am all about balance, and I am sometimes, as the director of digital at Salt Lake Community College, I get it. And I sometimes wish I had less technology, but I think that knowing these students, especially the world that they're going to grow up in, there's even going to be more technology. And that's
Which
the
is
reality, but that's the reality we have to live in.
Right.
And I think that teaching them digital wellness, digital footprint, digital citizenship, the safety, how to protect themselves, how to be responsible, all of that is covered. I don't think that we can.
But you're right, all of that is covered because that's what this class is.
Yeah.
This simply adds one element to remind them that this is not everything. This is part of what digital wellness is, making sure you focus and have time offline away from tech.
So
It's a simple little addition that doesn't change the focus of the course. It just is a reminder that we have to keep balance and we have to focus on real world relationships, in-person relationships, so that our lives aren't completely overtaken by tech.
I feel like we cover that in
We
the
do.
standard
It's-
for,
We've got,
we talk about understand time spent on the device, create boundaries,
Those
try
boundaries,
single tasking.
those are
find
all
digital
online.
wellness.
Those are focused around their activity online. It's not saying spend time offline, spend time in the real world with real people, developing other parts of your life.
If we wanted to add I don't see that as the standard, but I do see, because I think I see that as falling under one of these, if you want to be more specific in that case. But I do see that as falling under model behaviors that are safe, legal, and ethical, while it's the balancing
While
in-person
yeah.
response. Yeah, you're balancing things, the in-person responsibilities and relationships. So,
It would be better if we flipped that so that that last part is the focus and so that again, it's framed in such a way that it's saying this is life, and then you have to, then, there is this other aspect, we do have to eat and we do have to sleep and we do, but really everything is done here. And that's, if we can flip that so that
so are you saying
this becomes this is the, a tool for life instead of life, and the rest is supplementary. The tech is the supplementary.
So would you
supplementary part of
suggest,
life.
let me just throw this out there, students recognize the rights, responsibilities, and risks of learning and working in an interconnected digital world, if we scratch living, and balancing in-person responsibilities and relationships by modeling behaviors that are safe, legal, and ethical. That do it or not?
I mean, we've got the wording with rights.
I'm
Also,
thinking
what
of-
are rights? That again, that sounds like the digital citizenship where we have an allegiance to somebody, or somebody's putting responsibilities on us because we participate in here, that we are, that somebody beyond our constitution, beyond our laws, are putting, or they're giving it, someone's giving us
Well,
these
there are rights. There are rights though. Like I have
What
my
are
First
they?
Amendment rights online to post whatever I want, right? That's my
Do
First
you?
Amendment
Because
rights.
They keep taking those things away.
Right, but that's what they mean by that. So
But-
like you define your rights and liberties as something that is defined within your own government. So if you are a citizen of that country, your rights online are aligned with that government, right?
It gets really messy when we.
It does, but there still are rights, right? There are rights and responsibilities, meaning you can't, well, we're
So
seeing
are
it right now,
these
these kids that are doing like at one of your schools that sent out a photo that.
Are putting, or they're giving,
Are these
someone's giving us God-given rights? Or are these state-given rights? Because that makes all the difference. Like, what are these rights?
Right,
So I think, in my view, we need to decide if we're doing this, and if we're not doing this, then we need to decide what we are doing, and then move to the next thing. And I know what time it is. Is that what you? Oh,
I actually have some addition from staff if you'd like.
yeah, I'd
okay.
love to hear from them.
And it's actually from Jody Parker, who has some additions about how this is in the health standards that addresses the concern that is being discussed right now.
Great.
And so if you would like to hear
I
from
was
her, she
thinking
is
of it, I was
available.
like,
Let's hear from her. That's wonderful.
Jody, are you available?
Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. Hi, Jody Parker. I don't know why I don't have video. My Zoom is in this really weird window, and I don't know how to make it not be strange. Okay, maybe you just don't get my video because I can't fix my Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Fantastic. I'm sorry you can't see me. I don't know what is happening with my Zoom. Okay. Can I have context? I just barely was asked to
Jody?
join and I don't know the context.
Jody, I was asking if there's something in our health standards that talks about digital responsibility, that talks about the emotional impacts of living in just an online world as compared to real world. I don't know if I'm saying it exactly, but
Yeah.
is there
Okay.
something?
Yep. Fantastic. So we have two different places. So in health, we could go probably elementary even. We have, let's see, well, let me figure out which grade it would start. But we have safety standards in health education, and analyze influence of media technology on personal and family health, develop personal safety plan for technology use. That's 5th grade. Then let's see, so 6th grade, the next one in that strand, because we do have vertical alignment, describe various ways the media can influence thoughts and feelings that may lead one to take unnecessary risks, develop strategies for minimizing risks, example, dangerous activities, unsafe challenges, purchase choices, and eating behaviors. And then same grade, again, grade 6, explore consequences for using technology inappropriately and discuss school policies. Then when we jump into middle school, do you want me to keep going?
Digital literacy is for 7th and 8th grade, so this is a good
Perfect.
precursor.
Okay,
to
so then middle
recommend- It's up
school-
to the committee though. Committee, what would you?
Yeah,
like?
yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, thanks. I'm so sorry that you can't see me. I don't know what's happening to Zoom. Then middle school is analyze. So actually, I'm going to start at the very beginning on these ones. So we have demonstrate how to apply a thoughtful decision making in health related situations. Example: substance abuse, vehicle safety, sun safety, recreational safety, firearm safety, physical activity, nutritional choices. The next standard, HISDP3. So again, safety. These are safety standards. Investigate the effects of media and technology on mental, emotional, physical, and social health. For example, dopamine levels and sleep. HISDP4, identify how to maintain a healthy online relationship and the potential consequences of sharing private information using technology, including photos and videos. SDP5, this one is statute, so we really, this is exact wording out of statute, 53G-10-402. But explain the harmful effects of pornography and recognize that recovery is possible. Then if we jump into our relationship standards, which is part of sex education, which is opt-in, we have HI.HD.8. So again, this is still just middle school. Recognize characteristics of healthy and unhealthy relationships. Substandard A, recognize the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships and practice skills necessary for building healthy relationships and end unhealthy relationships both online and in person. Identify effective ways to, this is B, identify effective ways to communicate personal boundaries and show respect for boundaries of others to foster healthy relationships. And then
Is there anything about, I'm sure that this is here, this sounds so dumb asking it aloud, but about basically not living online and being outside in the world and being healthy in that way, like something generally like that, because I'm sure it's in health.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be to that level is in high school. So then it's again in that healthy relationship standard. So the recognized characteristics of healthy relationships. So this would be HII, so health 2, HII.HD.8. Evaluate the potential positive and negative impacts of technology and social media and relationships and strategies to use technology and social media safely and emphasizing the value of face-to-face communication.
Oh, face-to-face. All right.
Okay, this is not really helpful, but thank you. As far as what I'm trying to say, like it needs to be juxtaposed in the digital literacy standards in response to our what we are encouraging students to gain through technology. We need to have that balance within the digital literacy standards.
I still
And it needs
prefer,
to be specific.
yeah.
I feel like they have tried to touch on that with while balancing in-person responsibilities and relationships. Maybe what I'm not seeing that we consider to somehow add is a standard falls underneath in-person responsibilities and relationships. Down on all of the bullet points that fall underneath standard 1 and 2. Also, I don't know, this could be
Everything's being framed through the digital lens.
right. So, and I'm hearing that with what was just said. It is acknowledging that, and what you're trying to say is that there is this world that exists outside of technology.
Yes, like
So maybe
we
like-
come into this world for a like when you go to the grocery store, right? You go in with a list, you have a specific purpose for going into the store. And I feel like that's what we need to be helping our students understand, is that technology is a resource. We go on there for a specific purpose. We take care of what we need to take care of, and then we get off and we live our real lives.
I have an idea that I think you're gonna like. Okay, what if we have the way that the writing committee and they came back, right? then we add the end of yours, which is.
Nurturing meaningful in-person relationships.
Yes, well, or just in order to stay connected to the physical world around them, to nurture meaningful in-personal relationships, family and friends in the physical world, rather than a virtual online world. At the end of, instead of their in-person responsibilities and relationships.
We still have to deal with the rights, and yeah, that part's still a problem.
Okay.
And the digital world, I don't like framing things as a digital world. We have technology, but we don't live in a digital world. And I just reject the premise that this is a digital world. Earth is not a digital world. Earth is Earth, and then there's technology.
Earth is Earth, and then there's technology.
Connected
Would you
world.
like to vote? Like to,
What's that?
no,
Yeah,
writing, okay.
Sarah, did we?
Yeah.
What is our timeline?
I mean, I prefer the way that it came out of the writing, the adjustment that they made based on this amendment is what I prefer. I feel like it covers, I don't think that, that there are rights, I can go into rights, I teach about rights and liberties, but this is saying that you have responsibility, you have rights, you can within your own government, but you also have rights to, you can't harm one another in some certain way, like, and there are things there. It doesn't need to be defined. I don't believe that because the concept is really clear. And if I were an educator, I would look at this and say, all right, I need to talk to them about how to be good people on the internet, but also balance, also not spending their entire life online, right? That's how I would do it. And I'd probably make a lesson about balancing your screen time with outside time and what they go through in the next part, which is like, don't be a jerk online, treat others with respect, don't give away personal information, all of that we cover in the rest of this strand. So to me, I like what they have there. I think educators are going to take that, they're going to understand what that means and what they need to cover in the remaining standards. So for me, that's good.
So I guess the only thing that I would see that could be missing that we could possibly add, and I don't have an amendment to bring right now, maybe we could formulate one, and that is just to address balancing in-person responsibilities and relationships. And so I know that seems it would fall more under like mental health or health class, but if there is something, because they do very separated. If I were a teacher, I'd say, okay, what are in-person, responsibilities and relationships? And because that is here in this strand, I could see a teacher saying maybe some activities that would encourage you can go hiking, you can go biking, you can go to church, you can go take an art class, you can, and creating that. So I don't know if that is something that we consider putting in as part of.
So once people start doing stuff online, it's especially kids, right? Because their minds are still being molded. They start not being able to think of things outside of that to do.
I don't think you need to argue that the point of saying that we need a balance, like being alive in this world and not being online. But and that's why I was recommending we can add your note about that to the end of what they covered in the first part.
But the whole idea of digital citizenship and rights, who defines those rights? Where do they come from? Are they inherent or are they given to us or can they be taken away from us? And the digital world, we've always described technological eras as eras, not, when they created factories, they didn't say now we live in a factory world.
So what if we did this? What if on standard one, because we've described digital citizenship and then we have digital footprint, I'm just going to throw it out there. we define in-person responsibilities, and then do we have a bullet point? Trying to bring that into there, but it's not listed.
Would you be happy if we just cut rights? Because digital citizenship is something that we're in code with. Okay. Well, I'm ready to vote then if we want to just vote on the. This is gonna get anywhere.
I understand what you're saying. I would hope that by having balancing in-person responsibilities and relationships, that would address concern. I do like what you've written, because
So it's the other part that I'm fine with balancing in-person responsibilities and relationships, but I don't think it expands it far enough. And the rest of the language is not okay.
Ready to vote too, so.
Okay. Motion to amend Strand 4 to read, students recognize the risks that learning and working online pose to their privacy, personal relationships, and individual liberty. Students learn to conscientiously limit their time online in order to stay connected to the physical world around them and nurture meaningful personal relationships with family and friends in the physical world rather than a virtual online world. Motion. Discussion. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say
Nay.
have 3 nays.
Have a motion on Strand 4, Standard 1. Strike definition of digital citizenship.
Need a time check.
12:30. Yeah. 12:30. We have 9 more amendments, but then the committee also needs to decide what would happen to give a recommendation to board leadership for the rest of the standards that haven't gone through, whether you would need additional special meetings as a request, whether as a committee you would like to have standards go to different committees, whether you would like to just keep going like this. So that would be a decision that you would probably need to talk about at the end as well.
So B, to strike the definition of digital citizenship and amend digital footprint definition to read digital footprint is the data collected about a particular person and their direct or proximal interactions with digital devices, whether online or offline.
So I would make a substitute motion that we actually use the digital citizenship that's in 63C 2022-102, that we use the definition that's already articulated in code, and I can read it out loud.
You say that again.
Your motion
Yeah,
to amend.
63C, so 63C.
Jennifer, I can
It's a
I'll
motion
send it
to
to you.
amend
Jennifer,
by
okay.
substituting
I'd like to make a
language.
motion to,
Oh.
except for I'm amending the whole thing. I
Yeah,
can
so-
substitute it out, but so it would be 63C 22, and you could probably put the code in it, 102. And then it gives a definition of digital citizenship, which means the norms of appropriate, responsible, and healthy behavior related to technology use, including digital literacy, ethics, etiquette, and security. Yeah, however you want to do
Motion
it.
to substitute is what it's called.
Motion to substitute.
Hey, any further discussion?
Then the other, well, oh yeah,
Let's speak to
the
motion.
other, and then in connection to that is that they do, the writing committee did put in there, well, they've got digital citizenship, but that needs to be taken. I'm just looking at the digital footprint. I think they've done a good job of where is it the spot where, well, maybe I didn't have to then. Oh, it's under the copyright and intellectual, so. What did they put? Natalie, what do you have on yours again?
On my
Is it the same here as it is there or not?
Mine is digital footprint is the data collected about a particular person and their direct or proximal interactions with digital devices, whether online or offline.
They had as the information about the particular person. I do like your digital footprint, and if we can just keep Natalie's digital footprint there, a little bit more accurate. I don't think they have digital footprint in the law because I looked for that. So I was just trying to replicate what was already evident. So
I would like to make a motion to divide those two.
okay.
So you're not interested in the definition of digital
So I just want to
citizenship from
vote on
code.
them
Yeah, we can
separately.
vote on them separate.
Okay,
Does that work for you, Randy?
sure. I'm just here to serve, so whatever you would like. So, motion to divide. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Now what do we do?
One.
So the definition of digital citizenship.
Definition of digital citizenship from code as it's listed or as it was just read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
One nay. And amend the digital footprint definition to line definition is the data collected about a particular person and their direct and proximal interactions with digital devices, whether online or offline. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So I would like to, and you guys can tell me whether we can do this or not, because it was not part of public comment, but if we wanted to just do it, that's fine. If we don't, I just have a possible motion to add to discuss social media impacts on mental health of teens. Just that there's so much research around the impacts or I can save that till board meeting. So I like the idea. Discretion.
It's line number 1. If you scroll down further. Second.
Yeah, and it would fall under standard 4.
Strand 1. Strand 4.
Or strand 4. Yeah.
Strand 4.
Standard 1.
Yes.
Standard 1.
It wouldn't have to be under standard 1. I actually would have thought it would probably been under the identify guidelines to protect. Oh, no, it would be there. Sorry, where did I have it?
Is it the strand 4 standard 1 or is it the?
I think it's got to sit under something like standard 4 strand. That makes sense. So strand 4, standard 4, identify measures to achieve personal digital wellness, something.
I think it would fit in measures to improve digital wellness. Seems like that would be.
Yeah,
something they
that's
would cover
probably where it is. I can't it because I didn't.
So it'd be standard 4 on strand 2. Strand 4.
You wait on that?
Yeah,
Full board.
we can wait on it. Sure.
Strand 4 standard 4. We have
We'll wait then.
Yeah, we can wait on it. I
Now,
can bring
where
it
are
to full
we?
board.
like to know, like.
I just read it. So discuss social media impacts on.
Just your research that you
It's like the Bill Governor Cox's big thing. Yeah.
So I have a motion to amend strand 4 standard 3 to read. So under strand 4 standard 3, I would amend the writing committee's bullet 4 about AI to read. Discuss the pros and cons of artificial intelligence and how these affect the ethical or unethical use of AI tools in the creation of content.
scroll down just so we can see that in the green.
Right, Rob?
So there was a bullet point right there at the
Right
end
there. This one.
on, yeah.
You? Can Ashley or Talia give us a AI summary? I'm trying to think of how you define ethical or unethical. And it seems like it could be, to some people, something AI is ethical, and to others, that same thing is unethical. So I don't want to influence the students to have the perceived perception of the teacher's view of what's ethical or not ethical, but rather teach the students the risks of, or how artificial intelligence works, and give them an opportunity to decide for themselves what's ethical or unethical.
That's the discussion. That says discuss pros and cons. That's.
But you
implies a
add the
discussion
effect of
between
ethical
teacher
or
and
unethical.
students.
The effect of ethical or unethical,
Right.
that's asking someone to define what that means. Like,
It's
to me,
just
there's
having a discussion and everybody can bring forward their opinions
the
about what's
effects
ethical or
of ethical and unethical require you to define something that is ethical and something that is unethical. And to every person in this room,
I think it's
something is
just
different.
I
That
think
it
it's
is
just in
different.
the definition we just passed. Or
It's a
the-
new conversation,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, I think you can say that,
I'm not even sure we even have definitions yet.
right? You could just say, discuss the pros and cons of artificial intelligence.
It
Period.
does say in the one we just voted on, it talked about discussing the ethical use.
Right.
We just passed that. So
Right, I
this is just an extension of,
But that's so different, because there are things on AI that I might find ethical and you might find
right, and that's why
unethical.
we would have a discussion.
Right, but
right?
if I was a teacher, then now you want me to tell the students what I believe is ethical and
No,
unethical?
it's just, it's not saying that they tell the student what's ethical and unethical. It just says they have
Discuss the
a
pros and
discussion.
cons and determine the effects of something without deciding what is ethical and unethical. You
No,
can't
it's
do
just
that.
a discussion about what they think is ethical or unethical. It's a discussion.
You just
It's
should
not a-
teach about AI and let students decide for themselves what they believe is good and bad. That's how education works.
Then we
You're
would
not
have
supposed
to
to
that.
influence them. You're not supposed to influence them. You're supposed to teach them
It's a
about this
discussion.
thing and let them decide for themselves as they journey onto the world what they believe
Then
is
we
right
would
and
have
wrong.
to go back and amend what we just passed.
No, it's different though, because it's
No,
different.
nobody's telling a student what is ethical or unethical. They're just facilitating a discussion about.
But this is one thing, right? AI is one thing, right? Being ethical in the broad scope is very different than of this thing. If I'm gonna say,
Okay, is it ethical to have AI write your research paper?
right,
or-
and I could say, maybe, yeah, sure,
It-
right? I could have that opinion if I was a teacher, right?
Well,
Maybe I have a thought that it could be helpful for students in
Well,
learning.
that's a good discussion that they should have, right?
Right, but
Is that ethical or
I
is
don't
that
want the
unethical?
teacher to guide the students to believe a certain thing. I want them to learn about what AI is, how it impacts their world, and then decide for themselves what
Then
they
we
believe.
would have to amend the definition
Of what?
that we just passed.
No, because that is different than AI. Because digital citizenship is much different than a thing, right? A thing.
AI
let's
is a
use-
component of.
Like
digital
we could say there are ethical things about marriage and unethical things about marriage. I guarantee we have different thoughts about that, right? But that's a thing. We're not talking about ethics of a world, right? Being an ethical person in the
We're
world.
discussing the
Okay.
ethical nature of AI and how it's used.
I like what you have. I just do not like that you say how these affect the ethical or unethical use of AI tools. I like
Is it
discuss.
okay?
discuss artificial
Especially in education,
intelligence
this
and
is super
the use
important
of-
because if you are trying to get a graduate degree and you have a chat GPT write your thesis paper for you, can we not say that that is unethical?
If I may interject, actually, literally my school district just sent out a notice. Right, because Chat GPT or whatever was being utilized in the classes. And so because it was so rampant, students are handwriting their assignments now in some of it.
And
Because the
yeah.
point of the education is academic excellence, which requires acknowledging sometimes there are ethics and sometimes it is unethical. If our alignment is to academic integrity, the ability for our students to research, articulate, write, communicate information that they acquire in that setting, then it, in my opinion, it would imply that there's right and wrong, ethical or unethical.
Is there
So
ethical or
here's-
is cheating unethical or
Well,
ethical?
here's the thing. Okay, so ChatGPT came out this year, right? Or at the end of last year. It is going to change and evolve, and so much we're going to learn from this. And they might have ways now on Canvas where we can identify if someone used ChatGPT. We're going to have tons of yes. So I think the more broad we leave it and just here is AI, here is how it's being used is a much better way to write a standard when things are changing so quickly.
I think I would completely disagree, because if we cannot hold the standard on doing your own work in education, then education now means nothing. We have completely redefined it to be whatever ChatGPT says it is. Like, if we can't hold the line on students doing their own work and not having AI do it for them, then our whole system is going to come crashing down and our kids won't know anything.
Right. I think the technology is changing too quickly. I don't think we should go into what's good and bad. I think we should leave it more broad and say we want to
Just
teach
stay
students
morally
about.
relative, yeah.
I'm just recalling from yesterday's meeting, this was also a discussion during the English language arts standards. And we had a discussion with board member Bogus as well that was asking for them to be included. And then there was a broader conversation, I think it was towards the middle, and then again at the end of the day, that was about asking the board to review this as a topic unto itself. And so I just wanted to remind you and maybe add it to this part of the discussion, whether you want to keep it broad here and then have the board be able to review it as a broader item that could then be applied to everything. And so I wanted to throw that into the mix of your conversation.
And this is this is a short class, right? So they'll probably say it's going to be like a 15-minute, part of this entire course, right?
It's super important.
And if they were to do a use case, there are educators, as board member Green stated, that are putting guardrails around it. Some are using it also to be able to say, if you're using AI, then you have to show your iterations. You have to go in and change, what voice it's being told, and you have to change this. You have to show your iterations. So they're using it that way as well. So yeah, so that's why
it might change in 4 months.
So that's
And
why
when
I
writing-
wanted to just say, if you wanted to do it in the standards, or if you want to do it that way, or if you want to do it both. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you so much too. And this is new. I mean, we really are going into realms that we've just never been before. So the conversations are coming. They are being developed because we don't know.
There's like
What-
5 new chat GPTs already
Well,
coming out
and
too.
then they, and I read a thing, they can be politicized too.
Mhm.
That AI
Yeah.
can be
We just
become
don't know.
political. So yes, it begs the question of what do we allow in this new digital reality? And that itself, we recognize that as whole, which brings back, the point of, I wrote it down, Earth is Earth, and then there's technology, right? If this is a new world, it will automatically require ethics. So, and if we don't have those, it becomes a very scary place to exist. And we've seen that
Completely
because
unsustainable.
Earth is Earth and human is human. We've seen what human can do. Not quite sure what AI can do.
This is a
But
race
begs
between tech.
It
and-
begs the guardrail and it begs quality checks.
But is
at
that
every level of engagement?
Is that a good conversation that we should be spending a lot of time on in a 7th and 8th grade class about this? You know what I mean? Like, it should be a
Well,
flip. You need to understand
yes.
what AI is.
We are
I don't
saying
think you
that
need to
there is
go.
a digital citizenship and that we are a digital world. Yes.
I think the earlier the better.
Okay, well,
They
I
have
just,
this
I don't think
discussion.
I don't think our teachers are even gonna be equipped to have that conversation, and I don't think it's important for.
And right
us
now,
to-
I think you're right.
And I was gonna say, I think that is the key thing, is
Right
I
now,
don't know if
we are-
they even know
But
where the
we
ethical
are
dynamics
implementing standards that exist for 5 years. And
Exactly,
this just
that's why
happened a
leaving
year
it
ago.
broad is,
Change if the world turns upside down.
right,
It's just changing.
So
We'd have
I-
to be teaching.
I
to do it.
appreciate
Right?
that we're
Well, we
so
won't even have a job.
passionate about this and aware of it, because I think it requires both of those, so.
All right, well, I think we're out of time. Is that
How
correct?
many more amendments do you have, Natalie? Because I don't have any others, and I didn't think there was any others other than
Wrap
this.
these ones up.
I have 8 more.
You have 8 more? Do,
That's what she said. We haven't, we haven't voted on this. Why am I connected to the speaker? That's a good way to.
So I have,
Muted.
you might have just.
Stop sharing. Stop sharing.
But I think Zoom meeting.
We're still up online live. It's just, we're not seeing the motion screen anymore.
Is that working now?
No.
So.
Okay, gotcha.
So Deputy
All right, could you,
you say?
could someone read what the motion is?
Yes. Discuss the pros and cons of artificial intelligence and how these affect the ethical or unethical use of AI tools in the creation of content.
And then that go into
Are we ready to vote on this?
Really good.
We're going to vote.
overreaching.
We're gonna vote on that last motion. Are you all
To every
ready
standard,
to
to
vote?
every content area, not just this content area.
Okay, ready to vote?
Yeah.
Okay. While they were all talking, you read it, but would you read it one more time?
Sure.
So that
Discuss
we're
the
back on the
pros,
same page?
discuss the pros and cons of artificial intelligence and how these affect the ethical or unethical use of AI tools in the creation of content.
Okay. No discussion, no further discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed say no.
No.
No. Okay, so I think that that's where we
Fifth bullet again.
go after it. So the recommendation, do you have a recommendation, any members,
Start.
as to what, how we want to approach the additional standards that we have before us?
So is there,
There's
is there, can you give us a timeline of when we need to have the other ones done?
So basically, if I may, Chair.
How late is our homework, I guess?
So,
Yeah.
basically what happens in a traditional scope of implementing any new standards is the standards are approved and then there starts to be alignment where curriculum is chosen. And as we spoke yesterday, much of the curriculum is used with funds they have right now that have to be spent by a certain time frame in our LEAs. So many were planning on using the funds they have now to be able to spend it on curriculum that will be purchased. So what's happening right now is whenever you're doing this, and they have to go through their curriculum approval process in order to develop the curriculum and then the assessment after that. So what would likely happen is if these weren't approved probably before May, then if they're not probably approved before May, then that would put them into the middle of August, September, October for them to be able to get curriculum. And then that would move it that much further out. So it would go into their next year's budgets and whatnot. And so that's why there's this, I guess, bump in order to get, if you get them in soon, and if there's a special meeting to be able to get them done, then they're still in that window of being able to align curriculum and then next year.
So
If not, then it's a little bit more
are
difficult.
we recommending then to board leadership that we be allowed to hold a special meeting
I think we're gonna need to because we need to get these moved on.
And, you know, or send some of them to the, I
We
mean,
may
if,
have to go other committees too if we get too far behind.
that's what I'm thinking. I mean,
So-
with this amount
I
of
think-
rewrite.
Well,
Let's
we
do
have
that.
our
Special
amendments
committee, and
done,
if
we
we
should
have-
have them here.
We should, but if we
Because
can't get the
we
work
have
done
our
in time for the
amendments.
get the information out, we may have to send that on to someone else.
Well,
But
then we have to have somebody else bring forward our motions and they might not be willing to do that. And
that may be
that's-
true.
As our committee, it was assigned to our committee.
We didn't get our
made
work
the
done.
amendments, so.
Yeah, we gotta have less
So
amendments.
we just have our science amendments, correct?
Have
Or we have-
humanities,
Creative
creative
writing.
writing, professional, technical, yeah. So we have professional technical writing. We have- I'm saying right? And then communication, creative writing, and humanities. And then we have all of the seed standards, which are
Geology. There's five.
so there's 9 more sets of standards to get through.
All I know is I have amendments that I have put forward and I want to be able to give them. And if we send it to a different committee, that ruins the process.
I would be cognizant of the amount of amendments you bring to the next one so that you
We
have time
have,
to get through them.
I have my amendments made. I've already submitted them.
So I do have a question. Do we, and maybe I missed it. I didn't have any other amendments on digital literacy. Are there new ones that came forward that I just haven't picked up in the last couple days? Someone said there's 8 more amendments.
So
I was thinking we could pass it out, but
the ones, we're on line 12, if you're on the online version. And so we have one for 13, line
They're ones that I
14,
submitted
yeah.
originally, and then after they came out with their
16.
rewrite, I had to adjust mine.
It looks like
we've
we
had
have,
writing committee suggestions.
we have 5, and then we have 2, we have 2 from board member Earl as well. So yeah, about 7.
I don't think did I have additional ones? No, we've already done those.
You've done those 2 down there. So then that looks like we have lines 13, 14, 15, 16, about 5, 6. Double check that. So we are on line 12, bullet 5. So if we go to line 12, so board member Klein has line 13. Yeah, there's also one for line 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, so 6. We have a motion on the floor, which is the original motion
On the intro.
in the intro, yeah. And we have the intro, that's true, the intro. I did go back on the intro and I pulled it over so that it reads with deletions and the red, so that that's all over there. I did that wrong. So it would read as stated.
We need
So
another
motion
meeting.
to a follow-up session for the committee. Standards and assessment.
All
committee.
right, we have a motion for board leadership to approve a follow-up meeting, and we'd like to hold it as soon as possible. So possibly this next week.
Okay,
I'm
once
gonna-
again, we'll have to check with them and see if they'll approve that and then days and those, but I'll talk.
I would like to make sure that I have the motion written correctly, if that's okay, because I know that the motions come into place. So I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to add it. Oh, I'm going to go to the top and create, no, bottom. And I'm going to add it right. 8, okay. So I'm going to add it down here to, I apologize for those online that are. So I'm going to insert row below. And the committee final motion, and it could be a request, committee final motion, and should I just start requests?
I'd say not request, I would say committee recommends that a special meeting of the Standards and Assessment Committee be approved by board leadership to be scheduled at the
I
earliest
put earliest
possible.
convenience because I'm out of town part of next week. So I'm just saying
As soon as possible.
yeah.
Now, do we want to state which standards to review? Because do you want me to list out the standards that need to be reviewed, finish, and then just have a bulleted list?
Yeah, I think that's great.
The order we want to
And the
go
order
in.
that you would like, yes. So the first one would be finish, digital
Literacy,
literacy. And second would be
creative writing, professional and technical communication, humanities, then genetics, geology, human anatomy, marine biology, oceanography.
Yeah. I got genetics, geology.
Sorry. Human anatomy, marine biology, oceanography is one, and meteorology. Okay,
Marine
any
biology.
discussion?
No, I just hope that everyone considers the excellent work of all the writing committees on all of these standards and really is thoughtful about bringing only forward substantial content changing amendments and is respectful to this process in doing so. And we're not rewriting these standards in any way.
Very involved, very aware of things that we feel are important to bring to the table.
Okay, so let's vote. All in favor of making that recommendation to AI.
Aye.
Those who know, are you a no?
No, yeah.
You're an aye. Okay, so we're unanimous. We'll meet soon.
May I ask, because I know that Andrea will be asking us as well. Are we still live? Andrea, are we still live?
Yes, we are.
May not be.
So we need to make a friendly
To
motion
close.
to adjourn.
Motion to